While you're playing the intro, man, I'm gonna make me a cup of coffee.
Much good. I'm over there. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to BMT, coming at you again with another one. This is your guy, BMT, coming at you. We're about to do this conversation. I'm definitely down for it. At the discussion, we usually come here around, I probably say 2 hours tops to do these kind of talks and conversations. I'm doing here with two people. One, my co-host for BMT, attorney Michelle. Literally, she has done from civil cases to business to law. You know, of course, she's a Duke. Take it for what it is. And then we also have my co-host on Saturdays, Thriller, Voodoo Ninja. We have been doing associated content for a while. We just started out. This is our second episode on the Saturday. So these are finicky topics, so I would ask you guys to share. You know what I'm saying? We already know how YouTube is. It's very iffy when it comes to these type of topics. You know, see, everybody want to talk about the popular ones. We're going to definitely talk about these three. I didn't pick these three. This is not mine. It's not mine to pick.
I picked it this time, man, because first off, you know, I don't understand a lot of it. You know, so therefore I would like to have a discussion about it. That way I can get the other sides, get a little bit more in depth on what the other side has to say about it. That way, you know, maybe it can, I could become more knowledgeable about the situation.
Right.
You know, and the only way for me to not have a non-biased opinion about it is to ask.
Now, no, and actually that's very fair for you to have put it like that. Trailer, tell them about yourself before we start. And we also are joined here by the lovely Nichelle. So go ahead, Trailer, before Nichelle goes to her introduction.
Well, I'm just basically I'm an unemployed, out of work musician and artist right now. You know, I'm a father, a husband. I have been watching the how things have been polarized over the last probably decade of my life, and I've gotten to a point now that rather than sit at home and bitch and complain about things on my couch, you know, and just talk amongst, you know, my normal circle of people that I would talk with, I've decided that I want to make it a valiant effort to try and get out there and do whatever it is that I can do to try and make a change and make a difference in the world, and try and start bringing people together and talking about the things that need to be talked about, specifically for there to be the opportunity for us to come together. You know, so basically, I've decided that I'm in the trying to become a what's the word I'm looking for? An activist, I guess, in some sense. You know, just trying to do my part to help humanity and civilization.
Okay, that's a noble task. But what inspired you to really want today's topic? You said you wanted to know. Ask and you shall be told. I'm in one of those kind of moods today.
Oh, Lord. I opened a can of worms already, didn't I?
Come on, bring it. You
No,
ask.
for me,
like I said, we want to ask the white guy. Ask the white guy.
well, for me, the reason I brought the topics up is because, like I said, all I know is I really don't know a whole lot about it. Like the whole reparations thing, I really don't know a whole lot about. White privilege, I know, what the media says, but I don't know more so what the black community as a whole has to say about it. You know what I'm saying? Because what the media says about things and the way everything's the spins put on it by mainstream media and social media is different than what the actual reality of the black community is. And that's been my experience with almost everything that, I have tackled.
And see, that's one of the things. White people say that no, racism is dead. But we start talking about the black community. The black community is as varied as Texas is from New York. So when you say things like, I don't know what the black community experiences, let's bring it down a little level and say, I don't understand what black people are going through.
Okay.
Individuals. I know you didn't mean it disrespectfully, but I'm saying as black people, individuals, we are constantly grouped into associations. Perhaps we don't want those associations. Perhaps we want some things of our own and other things we're just normal, everyday things. I have friends who don't understand why I'm in a black sorority, because it was part of my tradition growing up. It's what I saw the women that were around me. Bear in mind, for some people, when they sit up there and go, segregation was a long time ago, my father could not have gone to Duke University. Duke University had 50 years.
Really?
Black people have only been going to Duke University for 50 years.
Really?
And
I did not know. That I really did not know.
Yeah. And Duke is one of the liberal campuses. And guess what we found out when we were doing our little digging as proud Duke students in Durham, North Carolina, which is right outside of where the civil sit-ins began. We found out that Duke University, the architect was a black man.
Oh, ain't that fucked up?
Very fucked up, because he was not, once rumor had it that he was coming to town to see his beautiful design, death threats were issued.
Wow. So it's all right for a black man to design and the school and everything, but it wasn't all right for him to actually come out and look at what he created, or for anyone else that was of the same skin tone as him to actually go to a school that he made. That's fucked up shit right there, man.
I was going to quickly add, Michelle, to that same theme. There are golf courses, I can't remember the name, but there are golf courses throughout the South that a black man was the architect of, and he couldn't play on them, even though he designed them. So along that same theme.
And see, for our generation, we're probably going to talk a lot more shit than our parents' generation. My experience, this is my experience, is that when you start talking to black people, say 60, 55, 60, 70, 80, there are a lot of them still alive. They personally went through segregation.
Well,
they went through the humiliation. And so when all of a sudden segregation ended, I think there are a lot of white people who honestly believe, like, okay, 1, 2, 3, as soon as they passed Brown versus Board of Education, segregation ended. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. So you're talking.
I agree with to an extent that there are a lot of white people that do think the way you do, but I think that there's becoming more that are more educated on the topic now, that understand that didn't actually end then, and that actually we still have segregation going on today. I mean, we really do, especially in the inner cities.
I mean, it's a weird kind of thing. Last week, I hooked Joe up to Trick Baby. It's a 1970s movie about how a black guy who looks white can con other white people on behalf of black people. It's a weird movie, but it talks about how liberals versus conservatives could destroy the ghettos. They could destroy this push for equal rights.
I'm actually looking that up. That way I can watch that afterwards.
Can I ask you a quick question, Trailer Hood?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, man.
Do you feel, I don't want to stereotype or ask you to speak on behalf of all white people or anything like that.
I
but
mean, I can only speak
yeah,
for myself.
Or I guess people that you interact with, do they think that things are equal? Do they think, hey, if I was born all of a sudden with black skin, that my life would be relatively similar to what it is as a white person in America?
Well, it all depends on where I'm at, to be honest with you, because I have a very multicultural circle that I hang around with, and I have, like my brother-in-law, he's a black man. I have a mixed nephew. They think that everything is pretty much equal with people nowadays, and that's coming from a black man and a mixed kid, but at the same time, they do still realize that there are still certain injustices that go on and happen, throughout our country and throughout the world, for that matter.
Can I quickly ask, what area of the country are you in? You don't have to give me a state, but just region, because I think that plays a part too.
I would say Midwest, the Rust Belt is the best way to put it. Ohio, Indiana area.
Okay.
I mean, there's some areas of Ohio where, there's a lot of very, very, very successful black people, and they think that they still have, have it hard and don't have the same experiences as white people. And I know a lot of successful black people that are way more successful than I am.
Just out of curiosity, how do you define success? I mean, like educated, money, income, life experiences,
all the above. Education.
You're on mute, BMT.
So what I mean, but honestly, I'm trying to figure out, like, what would we describe as success? Like, what?
Right.
What do we consider success?
I think that's relative. For me personally, where I come, I grew up in more of a middle class, upper middle class type of lifestyle. So I sort of look at people who, not to say no one who is not successful, but I look at it more in the terms of, did this person have opportunities to go and pursue what they wanted, and did they have a reasonable, chance of pursuing it, in the sense of, it's a difference between, I kind of have the odds stacked against me, but I got the opportunity, versus, this person came up and, if they wanted to go to college, they could go, they could pursue whatever major they wanted to pursue. And, if they wanted to, become a lawyer or something along those lines, that was a generally, path that was available to them. It was reasonable to assume that they could achieve that.
So,
but that's just me.
So let me look at this. Michelle is my mama. Now, we're born in a low income area. Now, out of the 5 kids, there's a chance that possibly 2 of us out of the 5 might make it. So it's a lot. This is a desire lot. Now, with those, maybe one of us will probably go to, like, hey, we see what's going on with your mama. She raising kids, fighting daddy and everything. Now we're going to look at mama's failures and then say, well, I'm going to go to school to be a nurse. Now, nurses are pretty good paid, good wage and everything, and I'm bust my chops and do what I got to do. And you might have a son that might go into driving a bus or whatever else. But however, the increment of the level will go up. Now, what happens is you have some people who will be like, "We had it hard." Well, of course, you had it hard. You're starting off from the ground level, bottom. And one of the things about it was I didn't start hearing so much about reparations. I never heard about reparations as a kid. I never heard about reparations when I was a teenager. I never heard about reparations too much when I was in my early 20s. I didn't start hearing about it until as I got in my 30s, and they started talking more about, hey, we need to get paid. We need to get that paid. Now, I probably heard jokes and little spiffs about it. But for the most part, I kind of understood in my mind that, yo, like, mama, you got money for that? I got bills to pay. Daddy, you got money? Listen, I'm driving this truck. I got to do for this white man. I don't got no time to complain. Son, either you going to help me cut this grass for the church and make this $200 or $100 or not. We got to make this money. But now I am in a level of my own. I'm like up there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got the pictures of my people shelling peas and okra and walking barefoot. Like, back then you had shoes, you had money.
But did you hear what our friend said? I mean, that has been the general, I don't mean to be rude to anybody, but the general thing that I hear from white males is, I know Black people that are a lot more successful than I am, and they're still complaining. They are still complaining. Hell, if I were in their position, I would not be complaining. Are you saying that if you could get to their socioeconomic level and have your white skin, of course you wouldn't complain. Of course you would not complain. But when you have dark skin in America, your path to getting to that success is a lot harder than it would be for a white person. That is not to say that the little boy in Appalachian Mountains does not have it hard. But once the little boy from the Appalachian Mountains goes to Harvard or Yale, guess what? He's a rags to riches story. He's no longer seen as the boy from the Appalachian Mountains. Right. He's just a success. He's not successful for a Black person. He's not a credit to his race. He did what white people are supposed to do. Even though some of y'all can't do it. And when you can't do it, it's kind of like, well, I didn't have the advantages of affirmative action.
Now, one of the things about it that's brought up, and I want to hear about this, is I hear a lot, Trailer and Michelle and Renaissance, I hear a lot about the Irish immigrant. I hear a lot about them. And they keep talking about, well, they were Irish slaves. And they had it, they going to get paid reparations.
My wife actually has a family that was in her lineage that were, I guess, what you would call the indentured servant slaves. That
now the thing about it, and I brought that up for a reason. An indentured servant versus a slave are two different things.
I agree. I do agree. One made the choice, one didn't.
Right. And
but what I want you to understand where she's concerned and where her family is concerned on that is they were sold something that they never were given.
Right.
They were told that, we'll pay for this boat ride for you to go over to the New World. You work, so many hours or so many years for this landowner, and then your boat ride will be paid off, and then you'll have your freedom. And most, if not all of these Irish and Scottish indentured servants that came over here they never saw their freedom worked off. That indentured servitude made its way all the way up into their grandkids that were still working off that boat ride.
Okay. Now, I think and this is something that Ben Carson got literally would turned off a lot of black people from Ben Carson. Slaves were immigrants that came over here. This is where Ben Carson lost black people. But he made that comment. Slaves were immigrants that just came over here.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
I'm like, wait. A slave and an immigrant are two different things, Ben.
An immigrant wants to come here, but a slave didn't want to be taken from his land and forced on a boat over here in servitude.
No. Show me the slave visa card. Show me the slave green card. Show me the slave goddamn taking pictures on the boat like land of opportunity.
Right. Not to mention immigrants were considered people, slaves were considered property.
So you gotta understand, like, if you're an immigrant, you got to keep your last name. I read the books up there, when you go up there towards Coney Island and all the places where they were coming, they wrote the name in letters. You lost your last name. You lost your identity. You lost your child. If your child didn't get taken and thrown into the ocean in front of you, you just had to suck that up. You were told all to lay down butt naked on top of each other, whether you're peeing, crapping, vomiting, whatever. 1/3 of y'all, 2/3 of y'all were gonna die on that shit. So some people just said, hell with it, y'all. We're gonna just jump off and kill ourselves. So I want it, like I said, it's the insensitivity right there, because I know what it's like to be forced against your will on stuff. And I had this conversation with a second generation immigrant about, slavery. And I'm like, well, why did you leave your country? And they were like, well, to run away from oppression. So I was like, you ran away from oppression. My people were brought into oppression. The difference, you got a choice to choose. My choice was just death. You choose to die, horrible death, or you just live and you die inside. So you got to choose whether you want to come. I'm not saying that it was easy for immigrants. I've seen that Leonardo DiCaprio movie where the immigrants were treated like crap. I've seen all this. But there was a refined line of a slave and a doggone thing. And so when we look at it right here, and I'm just clearly refining the details of the talk on reparations, but you asked a fair question.
See, I never heard of, I'm like you, dude. I never heard about reparations probably till about 6-7 years ago.
Well, now,
it has to do with the fact that, we thought affirmative action would equalize the way we were in the United States. We thought affirmative action would equalize it. But like all well-laid plans by idiots, people found a way around it. It came down to there are now more white women taking advantage of affirmative action, and pretty soon there will be more drag queens taking advantage of affirmative action. More gays taking advantage of affirmative action. People act like, we have this pie that's 100% true, but the more industries we create in the United States, the more jobs there are. There are more people. There are more people to service. There are more people buying things. There are more things to produce. But yet and still, people hear the statistics like, oh my gosh, like black people only 13% of the population, and like almost all the managers at my job are like black. It's like, how many managers do you have at your job? Like, we got two, dude. And like, you women are taking over. And we want everything to be 50-50 now. So like, forget the fact that you women carry the babies. We did our part. We got a good nut. Yeah. So things should be Please stop. That's why we're at this conversation now. We got too many gorily men sitting up there looking like things are being taken away from them. No, the average person that's complaining about Black people wanting reparation and not understanding white privilege just doesn't get. I like to put it in terms of men versus female. Most of you men do not know the fear of walking through a parking lot at night. It gets dark now. What, 5:30? It's dark at 5:30. Do you realize most women who are walking through a parking lot are carrying their keys or holding their mace because they're afraid?
I did realize that, but that was only because of reading a book that I was reading, and that was kind of like, wow. It was talking about things like sexism. I was like, wow, that is something I've never thought about, of having to, it's second nature to me to walk outside in the dark.
I realize it only because my wife, she has a corporate position where she works and leaves late at night a lot, and she's told me, that there's been several times that there's been, people that were lingered in the store a little longer that she was worried about, to where actually the security guard had to walk her out to her vehicle.
I only get told that, I mean, I'm old, like, you look at the world differently. That's a pretty good analogy, Michelle, on how you don't notice things because that's not in your lane or in your level. Like, I do sometimes turn up my eye whenever my wife or other women of color say anything like, you don't know how hard it is to be a woman. No, like, I can't do certain things like you do. Like, you can just go pull your truck aside on the side of the woods and go pee or change a tire.
Yeah, simple things like that we take.
Simple things like that. I'm like, no, a deer can kill me. She's like, no, shut up. Because you could pull over your car and do the kind of thing. Who you worry about running up and killing you? Versus me as a woman being out there changing the tire at a gas station late at night. I got a lot more things I got to worry about that can kill me, take me, do whatever they want to do to me. Like, so when we're looking at the momentum of these type of things, and when it comes towards that, especially in the reparational talk, we understand that it is a definitive line. Now,
I wanted to quickly add, BMT, really two things. When we talk about reparations, are we just talking about for slavery, or are we talking about when you look at things like Wilmington, North Carolina, like they're looking back at what happened, what was it, 1899, and they're talking about reparations for that? Just to clarify, are we talking just reparations purely for slavery?
see, now that's a refinery of a line that a lot of people always think. Whenever you're talking about reparations, especially from a Black person's mouth, they literally always think that they're just refining and just defining slavery. And that's sort of true. You actually don't have to just go. You don't even have to even get close to slavery to actually even tap into reparations. There's different things. I mean, hell, you have an easier time to actually finding the kids from Jim Crow, or literally their generation still alive. Actually, some of them are like literally right now in their 70s and 80s, and some in their late 60s. You can literally talk to them. There's literally stuff from them talking about the stuff that they deal with. Working in the factories with the harsh conditions. I believe a few of them, my grandma and her sister alive, they worked for Bell South. Bell South wasn't always the best place, but a lot of these mills and areas, I think a lot of the men died from harsh conditions. So you can look into a lot of these certain type of areas or facilities, and literally there's a lot of stuff there that can also be tapped into when it comes to the talk about reparations. We're joined here by
redlining. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Oh, no. Actually, I'm going to pull it up. The redlining, that literally would actually pull into play. And actually, redlining, to be fair, is still practiced today.
Yeah, a lot.
Can I offer some perspective here?
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, when you first move reparations from the whole catch-all phrase of slavery, all right? Even though not all black people were slaves, we want reparations for slavery. Okay, fine. That's an idea that's sort of in a nutshell easy to swallow, whether you agree or not. It's understandable. Now, when you go from slavery to things that happened in the Jim Crow era, just to call that whole time period one name, you're now engaging in what's called mission creep, because the whole idea of reparations was to basically correct an injustice, to remunerate people who were done wrongly. And it's hard to make that same kind of application to something like the Jim Crow era, because even by the time you just said it, it's easy to pick out the records of the Jim Crow era, which means it's easy to individualize these grievances and these payouts, and it wouldn't be therefore this mass reparations thing. And as far as like that particular time period in American history, like, black people don't like to be told this, but we aren't the only group of people getting our asses kicked in America back then. Like, we may not have had a good time coming up out of slavery and all that shit, but we didn't work in the coal mines and didn't have to fight wars against hired gunners and shit like that to defend our property. Like, there are a lot of fucked up things going on in America. How come like mining families in the Catskills and in the foothill mountains of New York and that whole region, how come mining families of West Virginia won't be entitled to reparations because they got treated shitty when they were working in the mines back then?
Well, David, was that a policy of the government in the sense
Yes.
of, was that a federal policy that said specifically?
Yes.
No.
Yes, they hired the federal government hired the Pinkertons, which was a well-known Wild West manhunting organization that branched into essentially a private militia, one of America's original private armies. And they sicked the Pinkertons on these people who were defending their territory against what was essentially the monopoly man. He owned the whole mine, he owned the whole town, he owned all the material around. So like, once you got into this place, you were on his property and you had to play ball with his whole organization to exist. And so the idea I'm trying to point out to you is that a lot of people got fucked up in the past. It was hard, bro.
But I'm saying, but I'm saying this though. When you look at that same era, you had lawlessness, you had black land that was literally stolen, you had terrorism, people lynched with no trial or things like that. You had policies in place of the government that literally said, I'm gonna treat this one group of people different from the other. That's different.
Right, and you also could leave.
Yellow codes, bro. Yellow codes.
You could also leave. You didn't have to work at the mines. They were going to send dogs out chasing you down if you left.
I'm not talking about slavery, though.
I'm not. That's exactly what you're talking about. The coal mines. You were talking about the coal mines. I said
no, ma'am. I'm talking about that period after slavery, after recreation and all that. Like, I'm granting slavery.
And I said that if you were working on the coal mines, you could quit. They would not send dogs to chase you down to bring you back to work.
No, she is right. Like when you had people like during the Great Migration who were trying to leave, you had people who were arrested, you had labor recruiters who were trying to recruit blacks from the South. They basically had laws put against them. They banned the Chicago Defender, which was telling people to come north. So you had people, like I said, those things in place where those people had the option to leave. We tried to leave and we even caught resistance there.
But on top of that, it's not a versus. Nobody's saying other people can't get what they feel they're entitled to. This isn't a versus. This is a historical, I think.
Well, that's actually
19.
That was actually why I brought it up. Why can't they ask for it if we're going to ask for that? Like, why isn't everybody asking for reparations for everything that ever happened in the past?
Hold on. So let's act. So here's the thing about it. So let's look at the groups that have asked for it. The Koreans, they got it.
Got it.
The Japanese,
got it.
The Indians,
got it.
Okay, let's look up there with the Polynesians. They got it. They got paid. Like, you got some islands.
Hold on. Walk me through the Polynesian shit. What do we do to Polynesia?
Dude, look at Hawaii. Look at Hawaii right now.
Yeah, we own Hawaii. You don't get reparations. We own your land. You're one of us now.
We took it.
Yeah, suck it up, Cupcake. That's what we did back then. No bullshit. No. Let's cut the bullshit.
Hold on a minute. They had a king.
They had a whole kingdom.
But you know what they didn't have? Battleships.
Right.
Yeah,
Just
you
look.
had a king, but you didn't have battleships.
So,
So it's our island now.
so David, is that the mentality that we are going to go for, like
Trailer.
going forward?
This is what we deal with.
Bro, can we all stop this fake
All I'm doing
morality
is
shit?
You know
This is
something?
fake morality. The whole world has been conquering the whole world
You're
since day
right.
one.
You're right. I'm in the wrong conversation because I know back in the day, it was okay for a man to go grab his woman by the hair and take her. That's what we did in the United States. So that's what we're trying to say is yes, groups like the Polynesians, once they sat down and said, look, you just came over here and raped our land. We want to be compensated for that. You
Can
raped
I ask
our
you a
land.
question?
So
You
David,
think the
you would be
Polynesians
I
wouldn't do
can
this to
speak
you
on
if they had
Hawaii.
the
I'm
chance?
from
You think if the
Hawaii.
Polynesians had battleships, they wouldn't run you over?
But David, let me ask you. Let me.
Hold on, Renaissance. I actually have a blood related native. Don, pass it to you.
Yeah, I'm from Hawaii. I can tell you about Hawaii, and they didn't get reparations. They're fighting for it now. They're fighting in the UN right now, trying to get recognition. But Hawaii was taken over by the white businessmen that came in, that planted the pineapples, and the sugarcane fields, and they weren't happy.
Pineapples aren't a part of Hawaii, are they? They weren't originally part of Hawaii, were they?
Who was?
Pineapples.
Yeah, they weren't
Yeah,
originally from Hawaii.
I was told that they were brought to the island and planted.
Yeah,
but everybody thinks they're from Hawaii. Damn,
but what they did was they asked the federal government to come in, the U.S. government, with their gunships, and they surrounded the Queen and forced her to sign over all the rights. And then they took over. They became a territory of the United States.
I remember.
And the Hawaiians have been fighting to this day, trying to get their property and their land back.
Now hold on.
and that's
all
200
that being
years.
true, being true, does anyone think that if the Hawaiians didn't have battleships, they wouldn't have been floating around the world doing the same damn thing?
But David, let me ask you this then. Let me follow this logic. Are you saying that, say for example, if Black Americans essentially decide, okay, we're going to go together and build military force, you would have no problem with us going and taking whites' land and just say, hey, get over it, they didn't defend it?
And you wouldn't either.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm asking.
In Australia got reparations too.
No, I'm asking you, is that the standard we're moving forward with, is what you're saying is okay?
Well, one, I'm not trying to look at history books and be like, oh, all those people are not okay. Bro, that's what people did back then. Just because we claim to be better doesn't mean we get to go back and rewrite the history books or grandstand on morality about the shit. The simple fact is the first person to create the gun went on a warpath. The next person to upgrade the gun, they started winning, so on and so forth. Let's not act like people are nice all the time.
So everyone should. So you're essentially saying. So you're essentially saying that every group of people.
bro.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah. So you're saying essentially every group of people that's going for reparations should essentially just get over it.
Okay, can I weigh in on this?
I'll have the answer.
It would be a lot easier to get to the business of building yourself up if you drop the ball on that shit.
But you're not answering, because you're telling Black people essentially we need to get over it.
I'm saying the argument is an emotionally abusive distraction from living the life of a current modern Black community. It's keeping your head in your ass for the sake of keeping your head in your ass. Bro, life was hard 200 years ago. Cry about it if you want.
So that's what every group should, that should be the response to every group then.
All right, what is every group, matter of fact, is every group coming over here marching down Main Street about reparations? No, they're out working our Black asses. And then they cry about reparations so they can get more gravy.
David, we just listed people who are going, he just said the Hawaiians are pushing for it. We've already told you about the Japanese,
that
the
means
Koreans,
they didn't get it yet. The Japanese got reparations for war.
They're working towards it.
The Japanese got reparations for war, which means...
No, they did. They were put in internment camps. That's why they had American citizens.
During war. No. During war. We were at war with the nation. Just like if we get into some shit with China right now, everybody's going to be looking at Chinese citizens a little fishy if we get into a shooting war with China.
Are they going to throw them in internment camps?
You cannot.
Who knows, bro? We might.
You can't throw American citizens in internment camps.
We did before.
No.
Okay.
And we were wrong before.
You can't just go grab. It's because somebody listen. That is why Barack Obama had to put down a hammer on the Islamophobia. Because after 9/11, a lot of friends I did have that were even in service, they were getting hazed and harassed about being Islamic. Like a lot of mosques
were harassing Indians because they looked Arabic.
So you got to think a lot of people that just look like them probably had somewhat of the same kind of pigment. A lot of people were getting beat up, killed, shot, mobs. A lot of things happened after 9/11. And I was a soldier, and we had to literally have a lot of sensitive training because hey, they're like, listen, guys. I think one of the ladies was like, listen, a guy tried to rape me. I'm a full-on soldier because they thought I was part of doggone Al Qaeda, and I'm literally a full-on captain in the military. Y'all, how the hell they tried to rape her? Thought she was part of Al Qaeda. That happened.
What I wanted to bring up is,
yes. Let me get it to Val, then you got you. Go ahead, Val.
Yeah. So just weighing in on some of this, man. Like reparations, everything. Like obviously, slavery is a terrible injustice. Like back then. But you also got to look at it from this standpoint. Slavery has been happening since the beginning of time. Look at Genghis Khan whenever they came out with bow and arrows. He conquered most of the fucking world. So if you actually go back, are we going to allow people who aren't genetically linked to Genghis Khan? Because like a mass majority of the world is linked some way to Genghis Khan's DNA. So can we go back that far in reparations? And if you look at what's up?
Let's not go into the absurd.
But how's it absurd?
All right,
it's absurd because one, we're talking about a relationship between two groups in the United States. Two groups. We're talking about America. Your argument is like, well, hell, if I have to pay my ex-wife, I might as well pay every woman in the world. Why not? I'm sure I pissed off some woman. Let's be realistic.
So are we only talking about for America? Because
we're talking about relationships. The American government caused this. So how do we compensate?
So even though America is actually doing quite a bit right now to stop actual sex slavery and slavery that's still currently going on in Africa, they're trying to stop a lot of that.
Well, I can speak for myself. When I'm talking about reparations, I'm talking about the fact that almost 20% of land in America was owned by black farmers and black families, in the I think from 1900 to like 1930. And then the government allowed and funded people to reclaim their land. And that's one of the leading causes of poverty. If you don't own land or property in this country, then you kind of really don't have anything.
Not to mention discrimination from the USDA as far as loans to black farmers.
And on top of that, when you look at history, if you know the Homestead Acts, the government literally gave I think it's 20% of land in this country for free to white farmers, to people who came from Europe, while taking land and ignoring the citizens that have already been here. And people bringing up, Hawaii and things of that nature. Yeah, they should, if they feel entitled and they organize, they should get what they feel as though they deserve. But that happened 200 years after slavery had already started in America. So if you had a grandparent that owned, 100 acres of land, and then, a militia of people took over his land, I'm pretty sure you would want that land. I'm pretty sure you would feel like, well, damn, my grandfather had that land to pass down to me.
Bro, my grandparent, my entire family was raised working in cane fields, man. So that's why I'm saying this. My entire family was raised working in cane fields. I'm only third generation American. Not far. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay, but we aren't. We're like
when we talk about reparations for slavery. We talk about
but here's
I'd love to get a chance to weigh in.
Go ahead.
I gotta get it over to Brother Rob. Trailer. I'm gonna send you this I'm gonna send this to you really soon. This is something I'm gonna send you this. If we don't want to touch on slavery, what I would ask you to do, I put in list of incidents of civil unrest in the United States, pretty much every riot or anything catastrophe that had happened in the U.S. And if you go past the 18th century, you come up to the 19th, right? And then what I would want you to do when you come up to the 19th century, this is the blanket history in the U.S. that is not put into the textbooks for a reason. I want you to stop here at 1919. Okay.
Summer.
Now it's
That
called
red
Red
line you were
Summer.
talking about.
Yeah,
Now
every
this
city
is the
has
one.
this, right?
Now this is the one time. This is the biggest time in U.S. history. It's almost like a eugenics culling, where for almost a whole year, all they did in every city was just kill and kill and kill black people, men, women, and children. It just happened at random. Like they would just keep killing. Every month, there were massive killings in the city. And nobody ever went to trial. The businesses were gone. It's like pretty much you wiped out 2 to 3 generations
Wow,
in just 1 year of people.
that's insane.
Yeah. I wanted to quickly add too, Trevor. You were talking. You said you didn't. Were you saying you didn't know what redlining was?
Yeah. First off, BMT, you said that was under civil unrest.
Yes, it's called. Yes, you can literally. I can put it in the back chat right now.
Yeah, why don't you? That way I can pull it up in another tab.
See, and that's the thing about it. It's never talked about in schools or history.
Man, there's a lot of things that aren't talked about in school and in history.
And a lot of
I
it was
mean,
backed by cities and governments.
Yeah, and I was going to quickly add what BMT was listing at. He was saying red summer. What I was referring to earlier was redlining.
I don't know what that is either.
That was just basically the government essentially saying, okay, if me and you have the same job, same income, same credit score, and we want to live in this neighborhood, you could go into the bank, get a loan that applied to your credit risk, and live in this neighborhood. I would go into that very same bank, and they would say, no, you're black, you can't live in this neighborhood. You have to live on this neighborhood on the other side of town, and my rate would not be as good as yours, even though we had identical credit scores and defaults.
If you look at any city, there's an area where it's predominantly black, and there's typically an area that's predominantly white, and that's usually how it was. And then areas where there were more black people, it was rated as like a poor or a lower neighborhood. And areas with white people was labeled as like a low risk neighborhood. But I wanted to bring up just real quick, BMT, that Senator Booker, Elizabeth Warren, and Kirsten Gillibrand announced the Justice for Black Farmers Act, and they want to give about 32 million acres of land to black families and training and things of that nature. They're proposing a bill.
How many acres?
I believe it's up to 32 million.
Is that the one where he takes off the one from South Africa?
I think it's
take away the land from the white people and give
no, that's different. This is saying basically black farmers can reclaim, like I think it's up to 160 acres of land over like 10 years and get some training to basically try to, because at one point the black workforce in the farming was around I think 20-30%, and it's down to like maybe 2 or 3. So they're trying to reverse that.
And that's in Africa or America?
No,
that's here.
This is America. Senator Cory Booker.
Where does that land come from?
Right. Cory Booker was working on the other one too. That's why I wondered.
When you say reclaim, is it federal land though, or is it private land they're just going to take and quote unquote compensate?
If that's private land, I'm gonna be looking at that side eye like,
I mean,
it's the same. But this is what I'm talking about. This is the same thing that got that. And through when Europeans came over in waves through the late 1800s into the 1900s, the government literally gave them. You got to look into the Homestead Acts. If you could build if you planted a tree on 100 acres of land, you were able to get it. If you were able to build a house on 100 acres of land. You literally could claim it.
That's
And
not
so
the
this
nature
you
of
had
the
to-
justice
you had to
is
issue,
not
bro.
stake
going to be
it.
taking land from people who already
Right,
own it.
right.
Stake
No,
on
no,
the
no,
land.
no.
Acres and acres and acres
Again,
I'm
of
gonna tell you
land
right
that
now.
is not
is it
inhabited right now. So
is
I
it
The
think
minute they
federal
start
land
making
or is it
some of
freaking
private?
the
land,
bill
Ew,
is
no,
to
no,
give
this
land
is
to
not.
people who's
Hey,
already
Let me
owned it,
clarify. This is not
and
going
some
to
of
take.
it
It's
is
not going
to
to
give
take
land that's
people's
not
land.
currently being used.
it's
Yes,
my thank you,
There's
thank you.
like I
as
think there's
well
a
as they
50
would,
million acres of land that's not being
it's a
used, that's not
simple
sold to anybody.
question.
as
Is
well.
it
So when I
federal
talk about
property?
reparations, I'm just
Time
talking
out,
about
time out,
Okay,
time out, time
okay.
out, time out. First off, I
leveling the
need
playing
people,
field.
time out. I need people to talk one at a time first, man.
Thank you.
That way I can hear and understand what's going on. I mean, that's the whole point of this panel is for us to have an educated and adult dialogue with each other. Not everybody talk over top of each other, man.
No,
Because
I,
when we talk over top of each other, nothing gets accomplished. Nobody receives the message that's trying to be received, and we still end up fighting and dancing around the same circle over and over and over again. And
no,
that's what we're trying to avoid with these discussions.
no. I just wanted to quickly tell him answer David's question. They're looking at land that is unused, as well as they would look at buying land from people who wanted to sell.
Okay, let me get it over to Brother Rob. Brother Rob has been waiting patiently, and I'm giving him his time. Brother Rob, go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you, good brother. I appreciate that. And I just wanted to bring up a report. It didn't get a whole lot of fanfare back in September due to a bunch of stuff in the media at the time. But Citigroup put out a report, pretty comprehensive, and it talked about how um, the U.S. economy lost $16 trillion due to racism. I put it in the back chat and I put it in the in the chat for everybody to take a look at. If we were just talking about housing and the good brother was just talking about land, in the last 20 years, that I'm talking about from year 2000 to now, the black community has lost 218 billion with a B dollars. The wealth gap is continuing to grow, and as of right now, today, the average white family has a median wealth income of 171,000, while the average black family has a median wealth of 17,000. There has to be government intervention in order to close that gap. And anyone who argues against reparations, clearly you're not familiar with the history against specifically black people in this country. That's just the last 20 years. If you
Now,
look at that last bullet point where it says potentially $13 trillion would have flowed into the U.S. economy just based on business investment. Just based on business investment, we talking 13 trillion. So, I just say that the numbers, people have a lot of opinions. Numbers cannot lie. 1+1 is 2 all day long. So
the only thing I'm going to push back on that, Brother Rob, is the only part that I disagree with is government intervention. I do not believe that government intervention of any type has ever helped anybody in this country at all whatsoever. If anything, everything the government puts their hands on, it stifles any kind of real growth economically.
I got you. Well, historically speaking, after the end of World War II, the GI Bill primarily is what created the middle class in this country, sir. So when you say that government intervention has never helped any group, I point to that. Historically speaking,
FHA loans too as well. That's what literally. I mean, you have neighborhoods up in like New York. I believe it's called Levittown that
Yeah.
literally is backed is loans that were backed by the federal government, and that literally created what we consider, suburbia, middle America, and that kind of goes back to the redlining piece I was talking about.
I
Man,
would argue
I'm
we
glad
had a
that you
middle
brought up
class before
one
World War
second.
II, guys.
One second. He had brought up redlining. And we were thinking about it as a policy. I wish I could share my screen. If you just type in redlining maps and go to Google, Google is a powerful tool. You see? And if you type in redlining maps, Chicago, that's where I live, you'll clearly see it's some red spots on the map. That was for every business, every bank to know where not to loan. And if you were to loan in those areas, right, that the interest rates are going to be high. That literally rapes the black community because everybody know that where those red spots are,
And
right?
I was going to quickly add to Trailer. A good book to read about this is called The Color of Law.
Yes, sir.
That
There's
will
also
explain this,
man,
the whole concept of redlining and how it's
Now,
shaped America.
I need to go to the next topic, so we're going to be pushing on
you
to the next
see,
topic.
you see all that red, fam.
Before we go to the next topic, real quick, I just want to say this one thing about reparations. The former slave owners received reparations for the loss of their slaves because, according to the United States government, they could not take their property without due process. So they received reparations for losing the right to own people.
So,
She's not lying, though. That is true.
There's also a book I would suggest to the family. It's called The Black Tax. It's written by a brother. His name is Sean Rochester, I believe. But yeah, it's called The Black Tax.
Now the next thing that we're going to go into, and I'm going to jump over this one. I want to hear this one. Really, I want to be honest. So I'm going to start it off with David on this one, since we're starting down from conservative, and we're going to go up to John, Michelle, Trailer, Renaissance, Val, and KS, and back to Brother Rob. I'm not going to input too much. I just want to be here for the discussion. Black racism or minority racism. Is it a real thing? Is it possible? Is it something that's literally just saying that it's not true? Or has it been something that literally the media and other type of supervision, shout out to Trailer for these dope topics, like to overlook? Black racism something real? Or is something that really can't be done? Because as they say, you don't have no power to be racist. So who's serving? I started off with you.
All right, this whole conflation of racism with social power is a lie they cooked up in some dorm room in college campus somewhere in America. Like up until the last 30 years, 20 years maybe, people didn't make up this argument that racism had anything to do with actual power. Racism was a simple, I don't like you because of what tribe you come from, quote unquote, for lack of a better term. And honestly, racism is an extension of tribalism, to be frank about it. And speaking of tribalism, most black people in 2020 America will not experience actual, like, hardcore, bloody racism until they leave this country. Go to another country run by other minorities and see how fond they are of you.
Can I challenge that?
Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead.
I wanted to quickly say on that point, David, you have places in the West alone, in places like Canada, other European countries. The standard of the black life expectancy rate is actually higher in those countries. And if I can't put a real empirical study, but I can say people who, if you talk to minorities, there have been plenty of black soldiers that left when fighting abroad and did not come back to America for the very reason of they felt that they were treated worse abroad. Treated better abroad than they were here in America.
Abroad? You mean Europe as in abroad?
Europe, anywhere in Western society, Japan as well. If you want to go to the east as well.
hold on, my friend. The premise was minority racism, and my response was go to another minority country. So leave the West out of it. This is a minority. This is a black versus brown fight, quote unquote.
Oh, so you're saying
Or how about this? How about this? Africans don't like black Americans. That's some weird minority racism for you right there. They got their own version of the N word. It's Akata.
who said Africans don't like black Americans?
Hey, that's
Akata.
actually a
That's
fact.
right.
I've spent many
That's
years over
actually
there,
true.
bro. That's a fact.
I have the ones I have experienced that I have dealt with. I've never had a problem with. Like I said, I don't have an empirical
Because they
study.
like you. You're one of the good ones.
Oh, I've spent years there, dude. I've literally spent years there.
Wait, what country were you in?
I've been in Kenya. I've been in Chad. I've been in Somalia. Few different places for years. And I can tell you, a lot of the black people we had with us, with our division, like they would go over there and try and make brothers first. And all they care about when you're over there, the way you're going to become a part of their family is, are you willing to go out and fight with them? But if you try to go over there and be buddy-buddy with them right off the get-go, that shit ain't going to fly with them, man. Like, they're going to fucking hate you and talk shit about you until you prove that you're there to help them. And a lot of black people would go over there and just be like, oh, no, see, I'm black too. And that's when the shit talking started. Like, that's from spending years there, living with Somali tribes, living in Kenya, living in Chad.
Fair enough. Like I said,
I would have loved to hear that, bro.
Fair enough. I have not lived over there. I can only speak to the experiences I've had with people who have been in my life, who have been from that part of the world, and I have not had that experience.
So let me get over to the next person. And only thing I'm putting out there towards that one, it's fair to say that we have used racism to get jobs. We have used racism to bogart our way in certain talking points. Oh, it's a good get out of trouble card. Yes, but it is a very usable card. Like, hey, you're picking on me, or you're trying to fire me because I'm black. Wait, yeah, you're picking on me because I'm black. I've seen it happen. I really watched it happen. A piece of crap soldier. Literally, he was a crap soldier, and literally, an NCO was like, "I'm writing you up. You're horrible." He said, "The only reason you're attacking me is I'm black." And it's like he almost got an immunity card where that NCO could not do his job. So he said, "You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna wash my hands of you." And he passed him off to, guess what? A black NCO. No, that black NCO dogged that boy and treated him like crap. He's like, "I'm not gonna put up with you." See, the black NCOs won't put up with you like the white. Not to say I haven't seen racism in the military. I'm telling you right now, black NCOs, they will not tolerate you much. Now, let me get over to the next one. John, go ahead. Racism. Do minorities use racism, or no? They don't have that power to use racism to their.
Well, I don't know about if the military per se is racist, like you say, but there are individuals that are in the military that are racist. I can tell you that. You know, I've experienced it myself, so I definitely they are. When I got transferred to my duty assignment, my roommates in my barracks were all black because they assumed that I was black. You know, they told me that. I didn't have a problem. I mean, I didn't have a problem at all with it, but I had a problem that their assumptions and the way I was treated.
I want to say this. This is a funny little thing. You know what? One of the angst about black people shooting at nighttime. You want to know what the angst they used to tell us? Negroes can't shoot in the dark. They can't see.
Huh?
Negroes can't see in the dark.
Where did that belief come from?
Oh, there is some interesting shit.
Well, it's a stereotype. It's like the same thing to say that many blacks can't swim, which many can't.
See, but nevertheless,
that's a lack of opportunity.
I know.
They haven't been
Yeah,
taught.
yeah. There's a documentary on Vice that talks about that very issue of why so many blacks can't swim.
It's a lack of
I mean, if
opportunity.
you are not, yeah, a lack of opportunity, exactly.
Yeah, but who cares? Like,
It's not
I,
that they're
I was
not
gonna say, you
capable of
telling me
learning to
the
swim.
white man is
It's
keeping
just
us underwater?
they never had the option to learn to
We
swim.
couldn't swim, David. Shut up. That's why we didn't go. I don't couldn't swim, bro. Shut up.
I'm just saying, like, is there like evil white men in the pool,
No,
just standing there with their arms
no,
folded up?
no.
Shut up, David. Sensitive piece of shit.
No, well,
God
essentially
damn,
what
David.
happens were pools were, you did not see the rise of residential pools till later on. I want to say in like maybe the 70s in people's housing. So traditionally pools have been public spaces, and blacks did not have a pool. So, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, but that's not like some stereotypes like that. I feel like every group has them. Like people say white men can't jump, you know, they get sunburned, they can't cook. Like
Oh no,
everyone,
they get sunburned. Oh, they do get sunburned.
they do get sunburned, but like they can't cook. Like things like that is. I feel like every culture has stereotypes about. Like when we went to school, people made fun of Asian people. Black people was called them ching chong and you know the dirty knees and how do they name their kids, all that. So
No,
like I think every group does microaggressions like that. If that's what we're talking about.
I get what you're saying, Kaz, but okay, so let me show you this.
Yeah.
Me and Val and John are all this, okay? If you were to put us, and I'm not sure Brother Roberts is in it. I got to probably check. But for the most part, Val would be more proficient in the snow than I would as a black soldier. You wouldn't want to use the black soldiers in freezing cold conditions. But if it comes to hot conditions in the desert, you're going to want to use the black soldiers more than you would use the white soldiers.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Oh, see, you don't know about that. I'm telling you as a soldier why. Because how they absorb sunlight, how I would absorb sunlight and maneuver, and I shit you not, how we absorb sunlight and how we maneuver in the heat, the black soldiers are just way more effective. The white guys would be getting heat strokes and sunburns and shit. And
you know,
and in the military, you get Article 15 if you get a sunburn.
Now in the freezing cold, I was watching the white dudes having whole smoke sessions and shooting and having a good time in the goddamn Tibetan mountain. I'm like, what the hell? I'm freezing, shaking I ain't worth a damn. They're like, stay close to the heat. Like,
Wait, BMT for clarity. What's Article 15?
That's a judiciary. That's a punishment.
You getting busted down or kicked out.
Yeah.
For getting
They say that's abuse of government property. Your government property.
Racism sometimes to get out of trouble, man. Like,
Hold on. Let me understand this right. As government property, if you recklessly get a skin burn, you are now guilty of damaging government property because you got a sunburn. Oh wow!
Yep. Because if you can't perform your job, because you have a sunburn, you're damn right they're going to write you up.
Yeah, once you sign that contract with the federal government, you do not have no right to your person at all anymore.
Freezer.
That's what GI stands for, government issue.
Yeah, if you ask me, I think it just depends on how long it takes you to acclimate to the environment. Because I tell you, when I go to the Philippines if I'm there for like 4 months, when I come back here, it doesn't matter fucking how hot it is. I'm cold. I am cold for about at least 2 months. Like I could be in Phoenix, Arizona, in the middle of summer, 116 degrees. It feels like it's about 50. Your body, it takes time for your body to adjust to the environment. Your body doesn't go up and go down that easy.
I get you with saying that, but I'm telling you right now, when you're in full battle rattle and you're sweating like a goddamn hog, and listen, worst thing you want, listen, I've had time, I had to take my black soldiers and keep them closer to the heat or put them in the truck, and the white guys have to walk through the snow. Why?
Wait.
They were more built for that.
So
the reason why our black asses weren't going up into the goddamn grease and taking over. Listen, bro. Soon as it started getting cold as shit, they were like, "Oh my god, this is not it."
Wait. So BMT,
they got this.
If you caught hypothermia, you would get an Article 15.
Yes.
Wow.
If you were proven that you did not take all the appropriate measures, if they told you, hey, you need your thermals, you need XYZ for this exercise, and you didn't take your thermals and shit, Yes. Yeah, you're getting Article 15, bro.
Okay, now, but if you
Alright.
follow procedure, you're not getting an Article 15.
Your superior is, because they're gonna ask him, why weren't you watching out for your people?
Why
Okay.
did you not put the black boy in the truck? That's a simple answer. I'm gonna ask you. Did you not see the black guy? Did you not know literally their pigment cannot retain heat? I'm sorry, but sometimes it is what it is with us in our pigment.
Yeah, I don't think
I'm
that's
sorry.
racism though.
Well, shit. Well, here's the thing about it. Well, see, back in the day, again, when I told y'all the thing about Negroes shooting in the dark, y'all like, what? Is that really a thing? But how many black divers did you know back in the day? There weren't a lot. I mean, they did a movie with Cuban Gooding Jr., but there was a stereotype about Negroes can't. When you swim in the ocean, it's dark as shit. There is no light or whatever light you get. It is dark. Trust me. I didn't even know. Listen, when I first time I ever came out of a boat and they said, "This is the ocean," I'm like, "What? Where?" Then but see, because you can't see the light reflecting on it. It is a whole different world than what your eyes are accustomed to. So I had to start readjusting my eyes. It's a lot of shit, man. A lot of TSMs, a lot of things are put out there. Negroes can't read. No offense, but if you want to hide something from a Negro, put it in a fucking book. They weren't lying about some shit. I hate to say, but we don't read. We don't read like we should. That's the thing about it. I mean, look, all these rappers ain't reading their damn contract. I mean, what are you gonna say about that shit? Polynesian people and all this other stuff.
Wait, so are you saying? No, I'm just asking you real quick. Are you trying to say that stereotypes are true, or like
Some are. Some are.
Some are. Some
I'm
are.
just asking.
Some are. No. Some are. Some are. Some are like literally, or some of them. Let's say like this. Some of us use that racial stereotype as an excuse.
Okay.
Oh, you know I'm on colored people time. Come on, man. And in a professional setting, you tell that to Renaissance man, and he's like, "You're getting written up. Come on, brother, hook a brother up." Or brother
yeah.
Rob.
Okay. Yeah. That does happen.
Or brother Rob. Come on, man. Just listen, brother Rob, hook a brother up, man. Why you always trying to charge before price? Man, come on, man. There's no white man doing nothing. But hold up, brother Rob got a whole business. Why am I, as a black man, trying to shortcut them? And I'm sorry, but that's one of the things that black people are cheap. Sorry that you don't believe me saying that. I'm telling you right now. I said it. Listen, prostitutes will tell you know the one that knows everything. Ask a prostitute. They tell you everything about everything. They know all the racial stuff. That's what they will tell you. I don't like black men. They're cheap. Sorry, I can't make this shit up.
Hey, we call them ladies of the night.
Excuse me, ladies of the night.
Yeah.
Excuse me, let me get them from refinery.
Yeah.
Very respect. Now, when it comes to white people, we think that y'all are crazy. We think that y'all are reckless as fuck. We think that y'all don't give a shit. If there's a wild animal or any kind of wild creature, huh?
That is all true.
Now, listen, there's no way any black people we're gonna contest you white people when it comes to wild animals out there. Y'all have it. There's something about y'all in danger and bungee cording, and I learned that in the 90s when I was watching.
We like tempting death.
Yes.
Yeah, y'all do. Y'all do. I mean, who jumps out of a perfectly good plane for fun?
The first time when I was 18,
The
first time I ever bungee jumped, I was 18 years old and jumped off the side of the Smoky Mountains.
And this is why I say, as black people, I'm no French. Y'all gonna think.
And I paid money to do it too. Good money.
I don't know how the fuck when y'all say y'all gonna conquer white people, I'm like, y'all must haven't seen the white people I've seen. I've seen white people bite into a deer heart and drain the blood on their face, and I'm like, oh my god, like what kind of? And this is with the kids. Come on, baby, come in the deer blood, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was like, you're not gonna do that to me, are you?
Yeah, it's a rite of passage.
Let's talk about the fact that there are 15,000.
Rite of passage, bro.
15,000. There are 15,000. There are like 15,000 white people running around DC right now without any mask on, complaining that the coronavirus cost Trump the election.
Well, that's stupid.
Yeah, they're dumbasses.
Yeah, but see, my thing is, I think
now I'm not talking about the not
kinda
wearing mask part. I'm talking about saying the coronavirus cost Trump the election. That's stupid.
Oh no, the without mask is the dumbass part.
Well, I think the whole making everybody mask up is stupid.
Oof.
Dude, there is
That's another
there is
conversation.
literally no real evidence that shows that wearing masks and socially distancing and staying at home has actually helped or hindered anything.
Well, you
No,
know why
actually, they did. They had a study come out of New York that said
the
it
damn
did.
mask on. You
They actually
can't
had a study
have
out of New York.
empirical
Well,
evidence. I'm down here in Texas. I swear there are people who like every day go out to post photographs of them not letting the government force them to wear a mask.
I don't wear a
And
mask anytime I go out.
Wait. So, Trailer, let me ask you this: how do you compare how the U.S. has fared as far as coronavirus versus other countries like Australia and other places?
Well, you know, I guess that you got to ask me how I really feel about. Hold on, my mic kicked off. You got to ask me how I feel about COVID 1984 to begin with.
Wait, what?
You heard me. You got to ask me how I feel about COVID 1984 to begin with.
What is COVID 1984? I don't know what that is.
That is the coronavirus.
Oh, okay.
COVID-19. I call it
COVID-19.
COVID
Okay.
1984.
Oh, I
Because
got.
it's a con, and what it brought on was everything out of George Orwell's 1984.
But I mean, I guess I'm still struggling with how do you look at other countries and how they have such lower rates than the U.S. and look at how they've done things like social distancing and mask mandates and don't believe that they would work here? Or are you just against it from a rights standpoint?
Well, I'm neither right nor left.
No. When I say not a right, I mean like rights, as in like infringement on rights.
I look at it as this whole thing, it was brought on as a simple look. Like I said, a lot of you probably ain't going to agree with my standpoint on this, but I believe that all of this was brought on for one reason and one reason only, and that was to bring on Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, the Great Reset, and the New World Order. And that's the honest to God truth.
And do you see that playing out right now?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. I mean, you tell me why the consensus on COVID and vaccines is literally a man who is a college dropout who made his whole fucking career and millions or billions off of stolen software from someone else who never studied anything, that it never went to school for virology, never studied anything in the medical field at all, but he's the know-all be-all when it comes to
Bill Gates.
Well, I don't consider him the know-all be-all. I mean, I look at who developed the vaccine as well as people who have been on the pandemic team who are trying to. I see Bill Gates as more of a spokesman.
This is what I look at. I look at the evidence that has been given to me. When this first started, we were told that there was going to be close to 200 or 2 million people were going to die from COVID 1984, right? Well, about a month and a half into that, those numbers didn't even get anywhere close to what they thought it was going to be. And at that time, they were doing that death ticker of how many people were dying on top of the TV and on all of our social media and this, that, and the other.
I don't.
Time out. Let me finish, dude. And then you can respond to what I got to say if you don't mind. Then after the death count didn't reach what they wanted, instead of counting the deaths and putting that out for everybody to see, they started going with how many people actually were infected by COVID-19. All right, and they thought that was going to be up into the millions. All right, and we started seeing that ticker, and they wasn't showing us the death count. They were just showing us how many people had actually contracted it. Well, then once that count didn't reach what they wanted, they went to people that what is it now? People that are the cases. That's what it is now. Not deaths, not people that have actually contracted it, but now we're going with cases. And if you actually listen to what they said when it came to the cases, all they needed is for one person to come in and for them to have a positive test for COVID, and then they could add up to 16, 17 other people to that list.
Hey, someone needs to mute up. We're getting background noise.
So just the simple fact that they keep
I think
changing,
it's MOT.
Just the simple fact that they keep changing what it is and what they're counting, that in and of itself tells me that there's something not right about this. Not to mention, you can look at, just the statistics of, the seasonal flu, pneumonia, and the common cold. And right now, we're only in double digits of seasonal flu deaths when every other year prior to now, we were already into thousands. You know, they stopped counting, you know, they stopped, apparently COVID-19 was the cure for the flu. It was the cure for the common cold. It was the cure for heart attacks. It was the cure for all these other things that nobody's dying from all of a sudden, and everybody's dying from COVID-19.
Do you know anyone who's actually experienced COVID-19?
I know people that were told they have experienced COVID-19, but see that there again, how do we know that we have experienced COVID-19? We have not been given any real, actual, hard evidence that COVID-19 exists. All we have and all we've been going by is what a doctor says.
No, for me, my aunt works in the hospital, and I've talked to her since this began, and she's told me about the ICUs being filled, how they've had to change. I've actually even had an aunt who's had double pneumonia and had COVID, and an uncle. So I have personal experience with it existing.
Well, the thing
as far as can I finish? Can I finish?
If COVID is really as deadly as they say it is,
can I?
Why are hospitals being incentivized and being given 20% kickbacks from the federal government to add COVID deaths to the actual death certificate?
Can you send me information verifying that? Because I've not heard that, number one. Number two, I was going to say, I haven't heard the narrative of, hey, these things are switching as far as what they're reporting. I have heard there's been changes in what they anticipated in death rates, because the virus was new and they were still learning about it, as well as when you start looking at the mixed response that was taken in that, you know, there were different scenarios and, hey, if we don't have a national shutdown, this is what it's going to look like, versus we went more on a regional, state-by-state basis, as well as they got more data, things changed because, like I said, this was a new and novel virus. That's the extent of I've known when numbers have changed.
So you haven't noticed that they're actually changing what it is that they're counting?
I have a question. This is one of the oldest people in Mississippi who have been for country music. 86 dies from complications from COVID-19. So when you say that you don't believe that COVID-19 exists, and actually Tony Lisha Jr. died, when was it, yesterday, of the same thing, where do you get your information that this virus does not exist if actual medical professionals, actually the actual people in the cities who actually investigate the deaths of things, they are apolitical. The coroner is an apolitical, well, not really in most southern states, but in this state, they have been upgraded from an actual person who could just be elicited as the person who, anybody who could be coroner, to a person who has to have a medical background as coroner.
I actually have friends and family that have either had a relative die from something else and it be marked down as a COVID death when it wasn't. I've also had friends and family that have gotten phone calls from the health department and from the hospital saying that they tested positive for COVID and they never even went and took a test.
Do you understand? Like, hold on. Oh my God!
But you know, the thing is this panel isn't about COVID. We can do that on another panel.
I was getting ready to say, at this point, it's 12 months. Like, we're 12 months into this pandemic. If people who don't believe it now are not going to believe it, you're not going to convince them it's 12 months.
Facts.
Like, it's just not going to happen at this point.
So the both of those people who died, who are very famous within 48 hours nearly, you don't believe that they died from the symptoms of that?
He just said no.
No, I'm saying I have a client that is an ICU nurse. She works with COVID patients. She has to turn them over. She has to watch them die. She has to give them dialysis. They're on ventilators. She calls me up crying constantly because they are dying on her. And
I'm not saying people aren't dying. I'm not saying that at all.
Okay, so what is your point actually with the virus? Could you narrow it down?
My point is I believe that what's going on right now is they're taking flu deaths, pneumonia deaths, and everything else, and they're saying that it's COVID-19. That's what I'm saying.
So,
because
do you know
down and like bring you to court and prosecute you and put you into actual small city where the numbers are far high, so you can go in there without a mask and die of this actual virus.
Well, so here's the thing. So AIDS, take a look at that. It's an autoimmune deficiency. Like technically when people have AIDS and they die because they can't afford treatment or whatever, generally they don't die from AIDS. They die of another sickness.
Well, no,
yes, because
what AIDS actually does to a person is it shuts down their immune system and makes them susceptible to other diseases.
So COVID does the same thing with dialysis and everything else. So yes, they could have died because kidney function, lung function, heart goes into AFib, but COVID was still the base reason of why that happened, which is why it's marked down a lot of times of that, because they tested positive for COVID, and COVID caused a lot of that.
It's
they
not
do
not
test
the actual survival rate of COVID
and they die.
It's not
like that 99.
They don't label
realize that 99.95% of people that get COVID.
That's Trailer who's talking.
Okay. Sir.
99.95% of all people that get COVID actually
You are.
I have a question for you.
You are correct, sir.
So my question is, why are we shutting down our economy, our country,
but the truth,
and why are we
be told?
Hey, one at a time.
All right, I'm sorry. The truth be told, the confusion on the point, we seem to overlook this. The federal government, the talking head of the federal government at the time, Donald Trump, he kept saying that it was fake, it would go away, all of these types of things. Whereas doctors, scientists, they are literally telling us something different. This is where the confusion came in at, and it gave conspiracy theorists and all of these different people and different groups legs to run with.
Actually, if you want to look back when this first started, at the very beginning of this, and this is coming from someone who does not support Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that was actually trying to shut down borders and trying to prevent this from coming here, while everyone else.
Sir, one second, sir. A very respected journalist. His name is Bob Woodard. Are you familiar with Bob Woodard?
No, I'm not.
That's terribly unfortunate. But he wrote a book, and he clearly talks about.
There was a recording he had.
Yes, he clearly talks about how Donald Trump knew of the deadliness of this disease and played it down in the media, and media clips literally back up what Bob Woodard was saying. So I cannot.
Is it Woodard or Woodward?
Is that Bob Woodward? What I'm saying is,
wrote that book.
Of this.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Bob Woodward. Yeah, I know who that is.
You're not going to convince someone who's not going to believe it.
No, what I'm trying to say, excuse me. What I'm trying to say is make the comparison. I want to make the comparison between racism in the United States. Some people will believe that racism exists, just like some people will believe COVID exists. There will be some people, no matter how much we try to explain, we show numbers and figures, those figures they will not believe. They don't comprehend that, yes, Black people are treated disparately. No, that's not real, because the ones I know, they love America. They've never been treated badly. There are some people who will sit up there and say, well, wait, I know this Black guy or this Black chick that says that the problem in the Black community is they're just not working hard enough. So when we have these discussions, I want to put it in the context so more people can understand and empathize. When Black people say that racism still exists in the United States, there's some guy sitting there going, well, if racism was so bad, why don't I see lynchings reported more on TV? That's what they want to see, just like they want to see 1 million people dead of COVID before they believe it.
Yeah. And that's why when I talk about the reparations, I'm talking about the government, how it gave land to people. We deserve the same exact treatment. That's what I don't care about a white man who's in his home in the middle of Appalachia and he can be racist and yell from his teeth. I don't care. I care about how the government has systematically given people certain things, and I'm saying we're entitled to those same things. But back with the whole COVID thing, we're 12 months into the pandemic. People who don't believe that it exists, they're just not gonna like. There's no data. There's no convincing. You could drag a COVID patient into their face. They're not
I
gonna
said there's
believe
a
it.
very clear way to
Can
handle
I
this
say
shit.
something? Can I say something real fast? You know, in Oregon, they have a COVID relief fund that is only for black-owned businesses only. So if you're a white or Asian business here in Oregon, you don't get financial help from the government for COVID if you had to shut down your business. Only for black-owned businesses, only.
Who can I ask who set up that fund? Because one of the reasons
They said it got the money from the CARES Act.
Because the CARES Act, the funding ran out very quickly, and lots of black businesses have actually closed because they were not able to access the money from
Oregon got $62 million, and they put that money in a fund.
All
and it's only
million,
able to be
all 62 million went into just a black only fund.
It's eligible for individual, families, or businesses.
Population in Oregon, sir.
Stop. I told y'all, Saturday panel, even feeling politics and everything else that comes up on the topic. Now, I get it. Listen, there was an Oregon fund put out there. I know y'all don't like hearing that, just like there was a reparational fund put out there in North Carolina. There were different things put out there, y'all. Just that everybody wasn't got to be in a location to get it. Black farmers in Mississippi got 1.3 billion. You had to be a black farmer in Mississippi or in the vicinity. You think everybody gets to touch that money? No. Those farmers who've been there, they get to touch the money. Like there's stuff out there that you just had to be that person. So the question now, and this was a big banging thing that me and Michelle dealt with in the parties. I believe me and MOT talked about it one time, and Peter Rail also. White people believe that they are being chastised for white privilege. And Trailer brought it up. What white privilege do I have over people? I mean, is that fair to say, Trailer? Like he was asking about what white privilege do I have?
Hold on. Yeah, you are right. Because
I'm gonna get it over.
I didn't grow up with any special privileges, and I grew up actually, being, always accused of,
being racist.
No, I wasn't accused of being racist. I'm sorry.
Oh man, listen to my accent. I was.
This year you were. You were.
But I'm glad you think I'm racist. Thank you.
I believe
in Lincoln County, Oregon, only white people had to wear a mask. If you were black, you were exempted from the mask. Having to wear the mask. They finally pulled that law back, or that order that they made.
I will say this with regards to Trailer's comment. I think what people, and I've heard this before, what people think when they think white privilege, or people who are white think, is that they're saying that, hey, I had some sort of individual advantage in my life, or I had a silver spoon, and that's not what's being said. It's the way you are perceived in society, the benefits of the doubt that you were given when you move throughout the world. I'll give you an example that comes to mind is when I saw the whole Kyle Rittenhouse situation. Someone who had just shot someone and then throws his hands up and says, hey, police come get me, and they go right past him. Yet you've had people who are black who won't even have a firearm and are dealt with in a much more aggressive manner than he is. It goes back to the assumption about you.
Yeah, but
that in and of itself, I find troubling, because then you're putting a blanket statement and lumping everybody into one bubble, which it's disingenuous, really.
Yeah, and
I don't think it's disingenuous. I'm just saying the way you are. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I want to make sure. First of all, let my non-black compatriots on the panel. Let them share their angst first. Okay, want them to share their angst first, so that way. But I know me as a black man, me saying it, they're gonna think that I'm speaking for white people. but I want them to have their own voice on this. This is the Saturday panels every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, where me and Trailer and certain people, whatever topics there are. I think next Saturday is going to be talking about masculinity, fatherhood, and the court
Marriage.
system.
I think marriage should be a part of it.
Marriage. Okay, we'll do the marriage one. God, you're speeding this up. So we'll be doing that. So understand, every Saturday, 3 topics we will have. We don't dodge. We'll just talk about them.
Can I say something really quickly?
Yes, before I get into Valisher.
Okay, you're gonna go to who?
I got to go to Valisher. Because Valisher, he's a non-black, and also John. I want to get it over to. I want to bounce to the non-black or Adolf, FBA, whatever.
I want to ask them a question. I want to ask them a question because I really asked my white friends this. Since people want to understand what white privilege is. You know, when this whole pandemic began and we were locked down, my friends were going crazy because they couldn't go to a restaurant. My friends were going crazy because they couldn't get their hair done. Do you not understand? They took that for granted. There are places as a black woman I cannot go to get my hair done. There are places that I cannot go to in 2020 where I get the side eye when I go in to just shop or buy food. So a lot of white people are feeling what black people have been feeling all along. And it is a privilege to drive down the street and know that the cops are not going to pull you over and ask you where you're going. But during COVID, I think a lot of white people got that feeling that their rights were being trampled for little things that they had taken for granted that black people didn't get to experience.
Well, see, what the thing is prior to COVID, I hung out in neighborhoods and areas where, as a white man, I got questioned just like you're talking about. What are you doing in this neighborhood? Who are you down here seeing? What drug house did you just leave? There's no reason for you to be here.
I can believe that.
So let me go kick.
Yeah, but you're personalizing this. We're looking at it from the majority. I mean,
and that's because that's the only way I know how to see it is from my own personal experience.
Well, you're going to have to learn to be a little bit more mature to look at it from other people's perspectives also. That's what adults do.
No, BMT asked him to share his experience. He was asking him to go about it.
But that experience goes further than just one person. It also goes among a variety of people from an historical standpoint. Just can't look at just personally from yourself. It's just like me as a black person speaking of an experience that's only synonymous with me, but doesn't necessarily relate to other black people.
Yeah, that happens.
Yes, but doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean it's right.
Like, for example, to tag on to what D. Durrell is saying at a greater level, when you had the opioid epidemic that broke out, one of the reasons that it hit the white community a lot more was because when people were white who went to the doctor, they were prescribed this at a higher rate than people who were black because of the perception that black people deal with pain or they're in less pain. Like, that's an example of a systemic issue of how people are viewed and how it affects health outcomes.
Yeah,
it just
let me kick it to Val, and then after that I got to get to John, and then D. Darrell.
Hey, is it all right if I add on to that real quick?
Hang on, I got to get it to Val, brother. I got to get it to Val. I've been putting them off for a while. Go ahead, and then I'm gonna let you respond to what Val has to say. Can you do that? Alisher, are you there, brother?
Oh yeah, man. So do you want like an overarching, or do you want my own personal experience?
However you want to take it.
From overarching, yeah, I mean, there is definitely a white privilege in society. You definitely see that in like bigger towns, more suburban areas. You very much do see that. Where I came from, you know, me and you've taught BMT. Me and my twin, we were the only white kids in my school growing up, and that's how we graduated. So I didn't really know it. And for my adulthood, you know, I'm 30 years old. Like, I graduated at 16, and my dad went and signed the papers. So at 18, I joined the military right away. So, you know, I never really kind of experienced that kind of part of, hey, white privilege. I was always going. I've spent out of the 13 years in the military, 12, 13-ish, I've spent about 9 of those overseas. So I never really experienced that as much. I really don't have much to say on it from a standpoint of personal experience. I know my family was raised working in cane fields, as well as I have a bunch of drug dealing cousins. So I grew up getting stopped because cops always thought, hey, my cousins dealt drugs. They've been arrested for dealing drugs. You got to be dealing drugs too, which that's obviously a circumstance because any cop in his right mind saying, hey, most of his family deals drugs, he's probably doing it too. I mean, it is what it is.
So hold on. So let me answer this. Somebody asked a question. I seriously don't understand the direction this channel is going in. I thought this platform was about building Black people up. Okay. You're having one of the very few channels that has multi-background people. I don't understand. Literally, we have multi-background people from all walks of life, from white collar, blue collar, poor, rich, business class, working class. I have lawyers, doctors, owners, everything literally comes on my channel. On a channel where Black people can talk with any and everybody. It's a table. You just sit here and talk.
My question is, how is having the discussion that we really should be having as a multicultural, multifaceted nation not going to help build Black people up? I mean, this is a discussion that everybody from every demographic can say that these are discussions that we need to be having and should have been having a long time ago. That way we could somehow find a way to bridge this gap that has been created.
Well, that's the thing about it. Like, I don't y'all gotta understand me. You're gonna have to have this conversation sooner or later. I'm not sure if y'all gotta click into work or walk the street or if you even go outside your house. You're gonna have to have this conversation. You're gonna have to. If any of y'all got kids, sooner or later, your kids are gonna start to notice something's different about me than there is about Tommy. Hey, what's going on? But mind you, kids don't see color until as they start getting older and the spectrum starts to change. Other than that, they'll drink out the same juice box, eat off the same plate, suck from the same breast milk. Like, my channel is here to promote these kind of conversations. I am a multifaceted Black man. I don't have no narrative. I'm not here trying to sell you game, sell you dreams, sell you any kind of sales pitch. I am a Black man that is working with all races of people. And if they want to have the conversation, I'm all for it.
And, truth be told, me and BMT, we had a couple small debates on another channel. Had one really good debate, and then we both reached out to each other privately, and we realized that we have a lot in common and that we were both trying to do the same thing. We kind of had the same mission in life, and that was to try and fix this problem that has been created. Find a way to get people talking about the things that they don't want to talk about because they're tough conversations, because people get offended when you have these conversations, and to actually sit down and have a conversation in an adult manner to where we're not sitting and arguing and throwing shade at one another, but actually sitting and having dialogue and hearing what the other person has to say, and trying to, build and grow from that.
Exactly. Like, y'all don't think I wasn't nervous about doing the topic about the N-word, but I still did.
You don't think me and him both weren't nervous about doing this to begin with?
Like, there's a lot of shit I have on the line about stuff. Hell, I brought Ballister on one panel, and they thought I destroyed the manosphere by bringing a white guy on.
Bro, I got threatened with death and called a cracker. So, hey, it is what it is.
To be fair, that's the manosphere in general. It goes there with people who are Black or white. People receive death threats in this space.
Hey, I've been in the soft community for a while, so for me, it's like, fuck it, whatever. But I thought it was hilarious. So.
Nah, that's what the manosphere can do at times, is eat its own and dox people, all sorts of stuff.
I just know that if we continue to stay silent about these things that need to be discussed, and continue to use that silence as a reason to continue hating each other rather than talking to each other and trying to understand one another and where each other come from, then nothing is ever going to change, and there's never going to be any growth moving forward.
So, like I said, again, this panel, my channel, and Brother Rob, D. Darrell, John, KS, Michelle, oh Lord, Michelle will put in requests. Trust me, she got some unholy topics that we got to talk about sooner. That probably tomorrow. Y'all gonna I think she be pushing our channel to the mantle, and also Trailer and Renaissance man be putting in requests too. And I never turn down the request. I just do the shows, regardless of how y'all may think. I just do the topic, unless it's something of bashing. I stay away from it. But I'll do the topic if it's an intellectual property. And I think that's what y'all deserve. So let me get it over to Brother D. Darrell.
BMT, can I quickly respond to one thing Balser said? I just wanted to quickly say,
yes.
When you were speaking about your experience, I'm not trying to discredit that or anything as far as growing up and having family members. The only thing I would point out as someone who's black is, for you who's someone who's white, if you're able to move out of that environment or move away or improve your standing in society, a lot of that can go away, versus you have people who are black, who are rich and who are millionaires, and who are still treated in that sense of this person is suspicious, or they must be up to something, in the sense of, you've had a Harvard professor, this happens probably about 10 years ago, who's gets locked outside of his own house and ends up getting arrested. So it's that experience of, hey, being black transcends what socioeconomic class you're in and how that can affect you.
So I get that, and not discrediting that, anything like that. How I got out of the situation was, day I turned 18, I said, hey, I want to go to the military, and I left the country. And that's what I did. And that was my goal in life, was to travel the world. I've been lucky enough, I've been on the travel world. Unfortunately, I've had to go to some really shitty places like Syria and shit like that. But, it got me out of that situation. And now, like, everywhere I move to, like if I get transferred, stuff like that, I specifically look for military communities, for the sole fact you're going to see such a diverse group of people. Like, on my street, you have black families, Asians, Hispanics, whites, because it is a military community. So that's predominantly what I look for, because I find that you have less problems in general.
Yeah.
And once again, they're military, they're your brothers and sisters. Like, they got your back. You ain't gonna worry about them breaking your house. You get those shit bags every once in a while who are, but they get weeded out pretty fast. So.
And I was going to quickly add to that, as far as, hey, getting out and traveling, sort of emphasizing that, to me, at least for me as a black person, when I look to travel somewhere, even abroad, my first thing of looking at is, okay, how is someone black going to be treated? Are they going to be in danger going to this place? Is it going to be something where I'm going to be in a very uncomfortable situation? So I think that's part of what we go through in that sense. Sort of going back to what Nichelle was saying earlier about being a woman and men taking for granted.
I'll tell you this: be a white dude walking down the streets of Mogadishu, and tell me how uncomfortable you would be.
Well, I'd be uncomfortable anyway, because that's a very unstable environment. Period.
Exactly. Now
it's a dangerous place. Period.
Southern accent, super uncomfortable.
I agree with Renaissance Man in the shell, but I do think that we have to acknowledge our contributions to certain things, because you're talking about a black Harvard professor getting harassed, but is he in a city where the police force is predominantly white? Like, we're not, a lot of kids in black communities are not being raised and told, you can be that doctor, you can be that you can be that policeman, you can be that nurse. And then you look at where we spend our money. If you're calling a business racist, but you're giving them your money, you're empowering that. And then if you look at black businesses and you say, oh, I don't want the black lawyer, I want the white lawyer, you're validating that.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I was going to say too is back to, because I do agree with some what D. Darrell was saying, but I also agree with some of the stuff that Chucker was saying. I do think that people have a visceral reaction and they do have an assumption, like, I guess because of TV, like a lot of black people who grew up, poor, when they turn on the TV, they see white, family, not Family Matters, but like Home Improvement, and I can't think of some other shows off the top, and they see that,
Any
MTV
90s
Cribs and shit.
sitcom.
Yeah, and they see that
Wonder
as like,
Years.
and they think that, okay, well, all white people are living like that, which that's not the truth. And when it comes to privilege, just real quick, then I'll get out the way. But when it comes to privilege, it's really complex because I don't think a white woman who's being raped at home is more privileged than me, and I don't think that and then I don't think that let's say Oprah Winfrey is more privileged than a white man living in a trailer. I think that it's situational. I do think there's things that are systematic, but if you're telling people that being a police officer is a sellout, and you're not going to get any black boys that are going to become police officers, and then you're going to complain about the police force that you chose to have in your environment.
Let me pass it
Which I
on.
don't endorse, by the way.
Hang on, let me take D. Darrell. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Fire away.
So I do understand that we do have, and I do appreciate the fact that we do have some non-black individuals who are on the platform who are able to express their opinion. Although I have to, at this point, as I listened before I got on the panel, I have to question their motives, and I also have to question their as far as them being genuine in regards to their response, in regards to how they looked at white privilege. And unfortunately, I'm a bit disappointed because the rhetoric that I'm hearing is somewhat similar to what I would hear from any other person that's non-black, that when we're talking about a racial issue, they seem to somewhat go into this method of internalizing their own experience as if it is equivalent to those who have suffered from systematic forms of racism for over 300-400 years. And it's very difficult for the people who have been on the brunt of slavery, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, Civil Rights Movement, the crack era, housing crisis, and so on, to and somewhat relate to that when your history doesn't reflect that. Even as a poor white person who has grew up in the South or somewhere else, your treatment in regards to how people treat you, whether it's your people and also other black people, because there's a large percentage of black people who treat white people better than they treat their own black people. It's very troubling to me and to some of and I think that those who are listening to somewhat think that you're speaking from a truthful mindset. That's
Can I ask you a question, Daryl?
Hold on, let me finish. Let me finish. I want to get this out because I grew up around a lot of poor white people. I grew up around a lot of poor racist white people. I've seen how qualified black people were overlooked for disqualified or underqualified white people. I've seen that in the educational system, in which, as a black person, I grew up in a school that was 45% white. From the time I was in kindergarten to 12th grade, yes, I only experienced 2 black teachers my whole life, from K to 12th grade. That's white privilege.
No, that's black.
Can you answer my question now? Daryl,
go ahead,
can you answer my question?
Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish, please, sir. Let me finish. I did not interrupt you. Okay? I've also experienced, when you want to talk about white privilege, okay, I have also seen one of my first jobs that I ever received prior to graduating college. Graduating high school to going to college. I worked I'm going to use agencies, government, and so forth. In the judicial system, I worked as a jailer, part-time. There were several white men that worked in that jail cell, that worked in that in the sheriff's department, who could not read or write, but they had jobs that required you to read and write. And you know what happened? There were other white people who covered for them to make sure that they were able to keep their jobs. Now, I don't have a problem with white people doing what they're supposed to do for their own people, but that is white privilege. A black person would not.
Well, can you answer my question, Daryl?
Let
Can you answer
me
my
finish.
question?
Let me finish. Please let me finish.
Well, it goes along with what you're saying. That's why I just want clarification.
Let me finish.
I'm just finishing up. Let me get it
what I am saying is that this is indicative of behaviors, whether you want to say is right or wrong. I really don't care. But what I'm saying and what I'm trying to convey is that this is prevalent throughout this country, no matter what area of the country that you live in. These things go on, and these things systematically happen from one generation to another. Okay? And so for a person to say, therefore, my experience, it says this, we're only relegating it to your one experience. But when you look at it from the majorative, the majorative doesn't experience, or at least I'm not going to say they don't experience, they refuse to admit that these certain things happen. Because once you admit that these things happen, then that becomes a situation where people giving demands that what they're seeing and experiencing is truthful, therefore you have to do something about it. And in doing something about it causes people to get out of their comfort zone. And the problem with the majority culture is, from a psychological standpoint, they have been comfortable acting, behaving, and reacting in a certain way. And to change takes you out of your comfort zone, and it makes you uncomfortable. But it's not the job of us to make you comfortable. That's not our job. That's your job to create and learn to change in a sense, so that you can be comfortable for yourself. It's not I see, we as black people have learned from slavery to make white people comfortable. That's why a lot of black people play dumb. A lot of black people play dumb, not to know things, not to do certain things, not to wear your hair a certain way, not to speak a certain way, so to make other people comfortable. And see, in that itself, the very fact that another group of people have to do that for another person, that's a sign of white privilege. Because in that, I don't have the privilege just to be myself.
Or I was going to say,
these are the things. So these are the things that I'm alluding to from. And yes, you can look at what you have experienced, and I'm not trying to take that away from you. For the gentleman, I'll do respect, but also you have to be cognizant of those around you and those from a population standpoint that do and say and practice and have certain perceptions that go in line with other people that is in itself an example of white privilege. Now you can ask me a question.
All right.
Okay, I got a question. Wait, I've been waiting to ask a question.
No, Don, go ahead. You can ask a question, then Al, and then if Trailer got something to say, go ahead.
All right. You keep saying white privilege, white. And my question to you is, when you define white, what races do you define under that category of white? Because you guys, you haven't mentioned my race. When you guys go through the races, like you say Asian, Hispanic, black, white, you don't, not once have you mentioned my race. And I don't understand.
Well, sir, you didn't define who you are. So I said
No,
non-black.
no, that's but that's irrelevant to what I am.
I said
but what do you
non-black.
define as white? What is white to you? Is that European white? Is that
John? Well, let me ask you this, John. Do you
Wait,
when you
hold on.
fill out a form?
What you're doing, you're trying to muddy the waters. Let's not try to muddy the waters. You know what white means. Don't try to come to me and ask me what is
no,
white.
because some people consider me white, even though I'm not white.
Okay,
that's why I say
let me
that.
say this. I'm going to keep it simple. White is what your birth certificate says.
What you fill out on a job application.
I'm not going to go into this whether you're Eastern European or whether you're Southern European or Mediterranean, and I'm not getting to all of that. It's what your birth certificate says. It's what you will say to another person that is of your same race if you're speaking. Don't white people say they're white to other white people?
So let me ask you this.
No. Just let's be specific. Since you brought the question up,
I am going to be specific. So are people from the Middle East? Are they white?
People from the Middle East are not white, but they are Caucasian. It's a difference. All Caucasian people are not white.
So, John, what do you mark on a job application?
Other. Because there's no listing for Middle East.
Represent?
See, actually, it should be Asian because it's Middle East is actually Western Asia, but they don't have that on like the census or when you fill out a job app. It's either Caucasian, black, white, Asian.
So, John, when you interact with white people, do they assume that you are white?
No, I get treated like shit most of the time.
So you
especially when they see my name. I mean,
John,
a lot of people get triggered.
Why you won't specifically say what you are then?
No, I am. I'm willing to say it. I'm just saying that nobody has addressed that, and I just was curious where I stood in this argument. That's
is John the name on your?
Oh, yeah, but my full name is Hamid John Ahmed.
Oh, okay.
Arab. You're saying you're Persian. You're Arab.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're not.
Most of my family comes from Iraq. You know.
You're not white.
Okay,
because
so
I haven't really received any white privilege. That's why I can't speak on that. I've seen the reverse. I've seen white people that have advantages that other people don't have. I've seen that.
What are you saying, John?
And I'll tell you right now,
John, you're not
white.
The
black race has been the closest to brothers to me than any race that I've ever come across. They've accepted me with open arms. I've never had a problem. I'll be honest. White people, I've had problems with all my life since I was a kid.
So let me get it over to Valisher. Val, you heard so far everything going on. I know you got some stuff chomping at the bit, and also Triller. So fire away. You can go ahead and direct it. You got Darrell, Brother Rob, KS, Renaissance. I'm off the table. I ain't got nothing to do with this. Like, I'm just directing.
So, Darrell, just real quick, because you're talking about personal experiences. I don't think you were in whenever I was bringing it up. I'm only third generation American, bro. Like, not far. So, whenever you're talking about white privilege, yeah, my family ain't seen that shit, bro. Like, my family ain't been here long. And where my family came from.
That doesn't mean anything, sir. Whether your family, it doesn't matter how long your family has been here. If you are an immigrant,
if you are an immigrant, let me finish.
Don't yell. Just talk.
Go ahead.
Let me finish. Like, do I acknowledge white privilege exists? Yes. I never once disputed that. I never said it didn't. Am I saying I've never experienced it? Yes, I have not. My single father, who raised me and my two brothers by himself in the early 90s, which is already unheard of, busted his ass in cane field, chopping down cane by hand, like, never received any white privilege. Like, that's my perception. So regardless of whether or not you accept that's a you problem.
That's not a you problem. It's a system problem.
No, okay.
So Voucher,
this is the trick that non-black people do when they interact with black people. They tend to talk about the hardships of what their family went through as if it's equivalent to the historical things that we went through, and they're non-equivalent. They serve us no good.
So are you saying that black Americans are the only people who have experienced tragedy? Because you don't know where
no. You know what I'm gonna say? This is what I'm gonna say to you. I'm gonna say that black people have experienced
the worst tragedy that no other people have went through. And no
Jewish?
other people
Yeah,
on earth
systematic
have a
tragedy.
history, have a
Systematic
history of going
tragedy.
through the things that we went through. I would challenge anybody from a historical standpoint to give me anything that would come close to what Black people have went through in America. I challenge anybody to do that.
Actually, right now, look at Boko
I
Haram.
would challenge anybody from a historical standpoint to do so.
I got you right now. Boko Haram and Al Shabaab in Africa right now. Look at what they're doing to the African people right now. Boko Haram and Al Shabaab, and you tell me that Black Americans are being treated worse?
Yes, we have been treated. Has that been going on for over 400? Has that been an issue of 400 years? Can anybody talk about something that has had a span of almost to over 400 years?
Are you saying have warlords and shit like that been?
No, just answer the question. Answer the question. I'm not talking about present day. Of course, there are people right now who have atrocities going on presently. I'm talking about from a historical standpoint, because what we're talking about, white privilege came about from a historical standpoint. It's not a present day phenomenon.
Arabs have been taking advantage of Africa for centuries.
But here's the thing.
They've been enslaving Africans.
But you know what? Hold on. And I'm glad you brought up Africa, because you know what's the difference? The difference is that I have the name of another man that doesn't reflect my culture of origin. I don't have my own language. I don't have my own culture. I don't have my own last name. I don't even have a land that I can identify as being mine. Those people do. So regardless if they do, they didn't lose that. We lost that.
They did during the Arab
we lost
slave
that.
trade. During the Arab slave trade, they did lose their cultural identity. They were forced into being
but
Muslim.
no, they didn't. No,
They were forced into being Muslim.
They did not lose their culture. They incorporated their culture into Islam. They did not lose their culture, and they did not lose their tribal affiliation. No, they did not. That's historically incorrect.
Let me reframe it for a second, though. When we were talking about America, though, I think it's best said that when you look at America in general, that America has fought a civil war over the question of slavery and Black people. They've amended the Constitution.
Black treatment. Yes, I get that. Sorry.
They've amended the Constitution. They've had to pass civil rights laws, fair housing, voting rights. I mean, it has been a contentious battle about Black people, their rights, and where they fit in this country. And I don't think in this country you can find people whose experience rivals that over a 400-year period.
Absolutely, in this country. But my whole point is,
Native Americans, man, have been really, really, really disenfranchised in this.
Yeah, I was about to say,
but they've received some form of compensation,
while constantly having everything that was given to them taken back from them.
Native Americans still have their culture and they still have their names,
and they're going to own a large portion of Oklahoma.
Yes. And they're getting land, and they've been approved for reparations.
So what? A large portion of Oklahoma, as
I was going to say,
all the different treaties that were given to them that were been reneged on.
100 million. They're like reduced to like 1 million. Like you might never even run into a full-blooded Native American. But the point I'm trying to make is that
they've had monetary gain. They have received some things monetary-wise that we have not even touched upon. Matter of fact, it's actually okay.
The least that you could do
against that.
That's like the least. If I go to a country and kill 98% of the people, and then say, "Oh wait, we're going to give you $1 million," that's the least you can fucking do. But the point I'm trying to make is how do you expect a group of people? But how do you expect a group of people to do more for you than they were going to do for themselves? Like you're not going to give your kids less advantages than you're going to give another kid. And the whole point is we complain about the system, but again, it goes back to parenting. If you're constantly telling boys all you can do is do sports, all you can do is or if you can't get into sports, then you're selling drugs.
But
it's going to be a cycle.
That's a generalization. That's a generalization.
Average Black parents do not tell their children that. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for repeating that.
Hey, let's give them.
Time out.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself for saying that.
Just real quick. Listen,
Come on,
y'all. I'm just only thing I'm putting out there, but I have Native Americans in my family, and like they said, Joe, I call him Indian, straight up. But he says this straight up: no matter how much money they give us, will never bounce back. Like the Native Americans, probably in 20 or probably 30 more years, they will be extinct. There won't be any of them left.
Exactly.
They'll be gone. Like unless they have to do some serious inbreeding with themselves. To
And there are
literally
tribes
to
though
stay.
And a
that
lot
have
of them
already
don't have their
been.
names because when you,
The Native
if you
Americans are going to be gone though. Like
And-
okay,
Okay,
And let's talk about the
okay, let's
$5
put no. Let me.
$5
hold
Indian.
on.
That
I
sounds
have
like
to
white
get. I
privilege
have
to
to
me.
get the trailer hood.
The $5
Let me get the
Indian
trailer hood.
that's mainly white. That's white privilege in itself.
I was gonna say, regardless, quickly, BMT, regardless of if we can have, I guess, the back and forth of who had it worse, but you can say the
I
Native
don't wanna do that.
Americans, they've had some form of reparations given to them, and black people have not.
Okay, I get no. You know, I'm
That's
not
because the
fighting you
federal
on that.
government
All
looks
I'm saying-
differently on Native Americans than they do Black Americans.
Oh,
Okay,
you
so
mean more
Rona
favorably?
Rona
You're
Zombie
using
said
the
this.
term different, but you should say more favorably because that's really what it is.
Okay, Rona
Yeah.
Zombie says this. We
Yep.
don't own Rona is a Native American. We don't own this country. We occupy it while holding its true owners hostage still today within our own borders, the American Indian folks. So that's from Rona. She's a Native American. So let me get the trailer hood and then the shell. Or you can ask Brother Rob. I think he probably occupied. Go ahead, trailer. I know you've been hearing a lot of stuff going on. This is pretty good. You already know we had
I just want to say I'm not preoccupied. I just
okay. I know you're holding the fight. Listen, Brother Rob is pretty straight for the people pro-black. So if you he wants to trust him. I know D. Darrell, he bangs hard for it. And so does Brother Rob and Renaissance. That's why I said this is what me and Trella wanted. Men and women of different factions and different backgrounds to sit at the table. I don't want y'all to think BMT is causing chaos. I'm not controlling. Y'all are holding y'all.
No, but we want to have discussions, not arguments.
Right. So nobody here's feeling pressure. I invited D. I invited Trailer, Don, Val, Michelle, KS. I had open and Brother Rob and Brenda. So I invited all these people prior. So nobody's causing no chaos. This is a discussion. Go ahead, Trailer, and then Michelle will answer. She has dealt with the reparations issue on court. And Brother Rob, I know he knows his history buff as well as D. Darrell. Go ahead.
Well, I guess, there was a lot said and a lot to unpack, man. It's kind of hard to, I almost wish I was taking notes,
Oh, we'll have more. There will be more.
But I guess I'm going, this is all I'm going to say about everything that was discussed, okay? And it's this. And you can be mad about it or you can, and not like it, or you can be receptive to it, it's your decision. But as I said last week, I'm going to stick to, I don't think that we should forget about, our history and the mistakes that have been made in the past. But I also don't believe that we should continue to live in the past and continue to, talk about, who had it worse or who was victimized more than the other. I mean, this shouldn't be a competition. It really shouldn't. The truth of the matter is everybody knows, everybody knows for the most part what happened and where we went wrong. We know that. And I'm not, like I said, I am not, don't take it, please, for the love of God, don't sit here and take it as me saying, let's forget about the past, yada, 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 because I'm not saying that.
Quickly, Trailer, do you think everyone truly understands what happened in the past?
No, I don't think everyone truly understands what happened in the past. But that's why these kind of conversations need to be had so people will understand what happened in the past. Now, with that being said, I think that we should find a way to move forward from what has happened in the past. Remember what has happened in the past. Remember the mistakes that was made. That way we don't continue to make those same mistakes.
And how do we move forward, Brian?
A lot of it starts.
How do we resolve those issues and are able to move forward? I think
a lot of that starts with this right here, being able to come together and have a discussion and eventually find a point to where we can sit and say, okay, we have reached a point where we can agree on things, even if it's an agreement to disagree on certain things. Because see, the thing is we don't have to agree on everything.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I agree with you, Brian. But you know what? I have one thing to say about that is I've seen white individuals that when black individuals are trying to express how they're feeling and what they've gone through, tell them, I don't owe you shit. I mean, how can you get past that? How can you get past that?
I don't know. I don't know. But
yeah, I was going to
My
quickly
whole
add,
thing-
trailer. I think the main thing with the discussion is that I don't think we're going to be able to fully understand and repair what has happened until everyone fully understands the past. That's the point of the discussion for me is that I just want people to know, hey, when you see why black people are in the position they're in, let's understand the historic reasons behind that.
Well, look, comments hold on. There were 2 comments that were just made. T Black said, don't find a way to move past it, just do it. And I agree with that. And then Conspiracy Box said, we must talk, we must break bread, and we must create the paths. And I agree with that. You know,
Okay.
and those are that's how stuff is. That's how things are changed. I mean, if we continue to focus on everything if we continue to focus on all the bad in the human race, then we're never going to get past it, and we're never going to find the good that can come out of, humanity. And that's
Okay, let me
I just don't think we can fully understand it if we don't look at it. Because kind of like what D. Durrell was saying about him only having 2 black teachers, the reason that happened was because when integration occurred, most of the black teachers were fired in favor of the white teachers. So I'm saying that's when he talks about that experience, you have to understand the historical rationale as to why he had that experience.
Go ahead, Michelle. Go ahead.
Okay, what we need to understand. I get, excuse me if I say the white guy. Excuse me, I'm going to say it like that.
That's all right. I don't take no offense
I'm
to
not
it.
trying to be rude.
Y'all get used to each other.
I don't take no offense to it, Michelle.
I can't see your name. I'm sorry. I'm on a small screen. I'm going to say it like this. This is where we have to understand. We're talking about a relationship. It's like the United States, white people and white people were married at one point in time. The white guy got to leave. The black people are the mom who has the kid. And the white guy is going, why can't you just go on with your life? Okay, we tried to have a marriage. It didn't work out. Just go on with your life. Stop asking me for money. Just go find somebody else. Just move on. But you can't move on when you're still raising the family. And that's what white people need to understand. We're still raising a country. We fought a civil war because of the way black people were being treated. Poor white people were treated horribly as well. But the main people that started the war, guess what? They are dead and buried. Their kids got to inherit from that. Y'all heard me say that the former slave owners got $500 per slave. I'm sorry that the poor white people were used to fight. They were used to fight for other wealthy white people. What we have to learn to do to move forward is realize that they are pitting us against each other.
Can you hold on, Michelle? Hold on, Michelle.
Yes,
Listen, y'all.
you just said right there. That is
hold on. Listen, y'all. Y'all black people know damn well y'all don't ever get civility like this. Where, damn it, y'all could get this many multicultural people on a panel not cursing each other out. Give me my fucking likes, dude. Y'all are so cheap. I promise you, if I were to do this in other channels, I don't get the problem. I got other channels outside of this space, and I don't have this problem getting likes or goddamn shares. Like y'all are stingy as fuck.
Yeah, hit that like button, man. What the hell?
Come on, dude. Like literally, you got multiple collab channels.
I mean, we literally need to get more people hearing this, and the only way they're going to hear it is if you hit that like button and you hit that.
You got Indians in the chat. You got Indians in the chat. You got Polynesian. You got Arabs. You got whites. You got everybody here talking. Stop fucking around, y'all. Like,
I mean, honestly, this is the kind of shit they're trying to say doesn't happen and won't ever happen, and it's literally happening right before you. People need to see it.
God damn, dude. I've never seen people like not hesitate on support. Like, so go ahead, Michelle, Trailer. You guys, we got about 30 more minutes. And after that, like I said, if you would like to participate on our Saturday panel with me and Trailer Hood, this happens every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Yes, this happens every Saturday. I think we did one last Saturday. You need to email us at blackbrother123@gmail.com. Me and Trailer sit down. We have 3 topics. He wants to talk about marriage Saturday. I got to come up with 2 more topics. And literally, we're going to hit on that. Has fatherhood been snipped? Has fatherhood been snipped? But we're going to have a few things. That's 2 topics: marriage, fatherhood, and also let's see what else. Damn it, we'll figure it out. We'll have to figure it out. We got 3 topics that we need to do every Saturday. It's literally a multi-cultural channel. Like
I'll get a hold of you after this, BMT man, and we'll discuss it.
Yeah, we'll discuss it. So, like I said, like the video, email us if you are interested in content. Also, if y'all know somebody who's editing, you gotta go hire an editor. Goddamn, we need an editor. But other than that, go ahead, Trailer. Go ahead.
No, it's not me. It's on
Michelle.
She had the table.
Hey, can I ask something, Michelle? Michelle.
Sure.
You said that the Civil War was about slavery. It actually originally it wasn't. It didn't come until later when Lincoln could use that to his advantage to turn the tide of the war. And that's why nothing. That's why nothing has been resolved. It's because it was never thought out properly in the beginning. It was like an afterthought. They're like,
okay, the articles of succession. Excuse me, the articles of succession. The articles of succession. They are legally binding documents. At that time, they were legal documents. They're available online. You can look up articles of succession.
Yeah, but it was over states' rights. It was over state rights.
It was. That's what. Excuse me. I don't lie on legal documents. Okay, you can fact check what I say. When I say that the state of Texas said that they were leaving the Union because the northern states would not respect the Fugitive Slave Act. The Fugitive Slave Act. They wanted their property back. The states' rights was about property in human beings.
No, I'm not disagreeing there. I'm not disagreeing, but they didn't use that per se to free the slaves. They were just fighting because they wouldn't comply with the law. Yeah.
I didn't say it was about freeing the slave. I said.
Oh, okay. I thought that you did. I'm sorry.
I said no. The articles of succession said that they were leaving the Union because the northern slaves would not return their fugitive slaves.
Yeah.
Can I ask John a quick question?
I would like to weigh in. You can ask your question, but I've been waiting patiently, and I definitely have a lot to say.
No, John, you were saying you were from the Middle East. I'm assuming.
No, I'm actually born here in the United States. But
well, your descendants are. So I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the animosity that you've said that you've received from people who are white was mainly anti-Middle Eastern, anti-Arab sentiment. I'm assuming mainly stemming from things like 9/11.
Yeah, well, before that too, but yeah.
Okay, before that too.
It started in the 70s when we started with the oil embargo, and yeah, but yeah. So most of my life has been.
Okay, no, that was all I wanted to ask. Go ahead, Brother Rob.
Living here in the United States, I've learned to hate my culture. I'll be honest with you. You know.
Bro, Rob speaks. You want to go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go
ahead. I appreciate that. I've been listening. I've been patient. I would say that I believe that it's a lack of empathy and a lack of understanding when we look at the historical experience of Africans living in America. The Civil War did produce 3 amendments to the Constitution specifically for Black people. And, for another 100 years, we had to legislate our way to have a semblance of being equal Americans. Earlier, I mentioned a news report that Citigroup had put out, where the U.S. economy lost $16 trillion. If you look at it on the flip side, right, that means that the Black community lost $16 trillion due to racism. So what are we talking about? We're talking about that lack of empathy that other people don't have, and I believe it comes from propaganda in the media. If you think about it, and I'm just throwing in a lot because a lot has been said. It's a gentleman, he plays a huge role in this discussion. His name is John Ehrlichman. He was the policy chairman for Nixon, and his policy of criminalizing Black life in the news media night after night has been very powerful. Black people even look at themselves and criminalize themselves. And so I would say that people across the pond, people in America, all of us are victims of that propaganda. Black people got to learn how to love themselves again and understand our story. When we understand our story, we'll know who to point the finger at. We'll know when to get upset when somebody says something disrespectful or something that's, slightly ignorant, because maybe they don't understand the history of this country and how they literally progress. The main thing, and I'm going to end on this, right? You can look at it. There have been many studies on it. It's called social mobility. When you look at social mobility and all of the metrics, you will understand that white privilege is a very powerful thing, and reparations, it needs to happen. And I would love for it to happen in our generation. Black people, we need to understand that every group, they work as a group. We're the only ones that's not moving economically as a group. I can prove that.
But even bro,
That
Rob,
was my
what you're,
Yeah, but you've been.
what you're
Oh,
saying,
let me say something because I gotta get off. I got a show to do.
Go
What
ahead.
about all
Let me go ahead and say
all
something.
the damage that J. Edgar Hoover did? To Malcolm X,
Yeah.
Martin Luther King,
Yeah,
every leader you guys had in the
that's what
60s.
that's what
Let me
the
get
that's
the
what the
information,
that's
man.
what the F, that's
Go ahead.
that was the FBI's role
Yeah.
to destroy Black leadership and destroy Black people, and they're continuing to do it today. Let me just say this, BMT. I see what you're trying to do here, brother, but this is the problem, and this is the problem. Black people, one, we don't owe white people any explanation about our oppression. They know goddamn well what they've done to us. There's plenty of historical records. There's plenty of documentation, video, and written history. America owes Black people a debt that's paid to us as the ancestors, as they have given to the Chinese. They've given money to Jewish people. Obama himself gave money to Native American tribes. Every other group has been given something for some tragedy that has that has been happened to them, unfortunately. And nobody seems to have a debate about other people having something. It's only when Black people are demanding or saying that or demanding or asking for something that is due us because it's a debt, that it's a problem for everybody. Then we have the usual stuff where people say, well, we got to get over the past, and because if we don't get over the past, we can't move forward. And I know many Black historians say that if you do not understand your past, you won't understand everything that's happening to you around you today, and you can't go forward without understanding your past. Nobody tells Jewish people to forget about their past, and they'll say to you, never, never again, meaning they'll never allow you to talk in any anti-way towards them, and they'll punish you for that. And Black people, we got to start punishing people when they do the same thing. I'm finishing what I'm saying, sir. I don't need you cutting me. I don't need you cutting me off. I'm going to finish my points. I'm going to finish my points. I don't need you cutting me off. I don't play that kind of game.
And I don't play the game.
And I'm telling you right now, don't cut me off. Don't cut me off because I'm talking. I'm talking. See, I'm not one of these Black people that's going to capitulate to you.
Hey, be civil.
So I'm going to say what I'm. Don't tell me what I need to be. I'm going to be who I am and what I want to be. He cut me off, and I said I'm not going for the cutoff. I'm not going for that.
Be accused of saying something I didn't say.
So what I'm saying is we got to get out of letting white people or anybody tell us how we should feel about our history and how we should deal with it and talk about it. We can chew gum, ride a bike, and everything at the same time, know our history, and go forward at the same time. Bottom line. Now this. you know, it's funny to me when I hear white people talk about we got to get over these things and we're all a multicultural group. Yeah, right. That's bullshit. We're living in a solid bowl. We're not living in a multi-rate. Everybody is in their own little areas. But the thing that's funny about it is that I never hear white people talk about what they're prepared to do on the ground level to rid out this issue called racism, which, because this is an issue that they created. Black people didn't create this problem, so it is not our problem. It is your problem to deal with because you created it. I'm simply born into the world of parents, and I'm trying to, like anyone else, live my life, go to school, educate myself, take care of my family. I didn't ask for racism, and I didn't create this problem. You all created this problem. So the question is, what are you prepared to do to say to your white brothers and sisters? What organizations are you prepared to create to fight against this scourge called racism, as it relates to racism equaling power coming from the white power dynamic in this country? So it ain't for black people to fix a problem, because we've been trying to fix this problem for 400 years. You killed one of our greatest leaders, Dr. King, and he was a man of peace. Black people in this country for years and decades have been saying, we want to be your brothers and sisters. We want to join hands. We want freedom, justice, and equality. And every time we have a leader that speaks upon that, you kill him, or you get somebody to kill him that looks like us to kill him. The FBI, going back to what you said, John. So this is the question. Black people, as far as I'm concerned, black people have done our job in trying to bring this to the forefront. We always have. Now it's time for white people to do what you say you're gonna do what you think is the right thing to do, and stop asking black people what we should do. Okay? And stop trying to say, well, making these like D. Durrell said, well, what do you mean by when you say white people? You know goddamn well what we're talking about. And I know you're from the Middle East, or you were born here, but Middle Easterns, they were involved in slavery. They've been oppressing Africans in the continent. They've done all kind of atrocities to our people as well. So someone saying that they're Arab, they don't give you no goddamn pass either. I'm not saying you personally. I'm just saying just in general. See, people, when we talk about these racial issues, they're always trying to bounce it back on black people as if it's our problem to fix. No, it's not. It ain't our goddamn problem to fix. We tried. It's been failing. Now it's on you. If you want a better society that's not racial and that's this multicultural thing that everybody wants to use today, then what are you prepared to do on ground? Not just, we can talk about it, but what are you doing in actuality to fix these problems? And if you're not doing anything in actuality, then all you're doing is blowing smoke up here, and you're just talking. I can tell you what I do, but the question is, what are you doing, white man, white woman, if you really don't like this racial dynamic in America? Other than that, we're just talking and bullshitting around.
Hey, can I speak on that real quick? Oh, go ahead, Natural.
I'm going to defend white people for a minute.
Oh,
because
God, I gotta go. Bye.
Empathy.
Hold on, real quick. Oh, he left. Damn.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
Damn.
Like, y'all can't be
understand white people on one issue. That's called empathy. Every time we get on these panels, and I hear it from white people, especially now that all these non-essential workers, you have no empathy. Most black people are sitting up there clicking home from their computers. We were customer service. I'm a lawyer. I'm working happily from my home. Empathy. When I said that white people have been played just like black people, that the long and short of it is, white people are sitting up there going, wait a minute, I don't understand this. If I was a lawyer or a doctor, if I had the opportunity, I'd be so happy, because they see it from being in a white lawyer, white doctor, white musician skin. We're not empathizing with them. That if we want to move forward, both sides are going to have to empathize.
We've already done that.
But
how did we do that?
But I think, Michelle, but I think the thing that's frustrating in all this is that when you look at, because this kind of goes back to what Bro Speak said about that study about $16 trillion being lost from the U.S. economy from 2020, just from 2000 alone. The ironic thing in that is frustrating as a black person is the policies and things that you see rank and file white people support, they hurt them as well. What we're trying to essentially say as people who are black is, if you go and help us basically fix the problems and disparities in society, society as a whole will be better for everyone. And you get pushed back even then. And that's the frustrating part.
Of course it is.
That goes back
Because
to
the
this,
powers that
the
be,
government and equal
the
treatment under
powers
the law.
that be. Okay, but that's the court system. And the court system is not designed. I am from Fort Worth, Texas, where a white man's wife testified, I saw him shoot me in the face. They said, the bitch is lying to get money in her divorce. So when people sit up there, white people believe that rich people are entitled to a different type of justice than poor people. That when O.J. Simpson got off, it was like, oh, wow, the system finally worked for a rich black man. And I'm sitting up there going, no, Johnny Cochran actually got people to think, which is really.
I thought most white people were pissed when OJ got off.
They
Of
were.
course they were. Of course they were. Because the system is designed for rich white men to shoot their. Colin Davis shot his wife in her face. She was in court. She said, I saw him shoot me in the face. Her lawyer, Ray Towers Haynes, said, ask the jury, who are you going to believe, me or her lying eyes?
Are you kidding me? You got to be kidding me.
No, I've heard the same thing of like another a white couple getting a divorce, and the same thing. The jury, this is a more rural area as well, and they sided with the man and said basically the woman was just trying to cheat him out of money.
Have y'all heard the term affluenza? Affluenza.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm that same city, Fort Worth, Texas. It was right. This little boy is too rich. He's been spoiled. He didn't realize that drinking and driving and killing 4 people and maiming one for the rest of his life was wrong. So he got to go to Club Fed. And then he didn't realize because of his environment, his rich, affluent upbringing, that he was supposed to stay at home and not go to Mexico and not be out drinking and partying with his friends. So again, white people accept, the majority of white people accept. When they say, I don't have white privilege, what they see is the way the court system treat people with money. It is built into our culture that people with money are to be treated differently by the court system. They're not.
Isn't that everywhere?
No, not in all countries. No.
In the United States, it's very understood, very, very understood by prosecutors, by defense attorneys. If you got money, you're going to be perceived differently in the legal system. If you have
Michelle,
money,
can I ask you this real fast? Isn't it because
every
people that have money
situation.
can buy a lawyer? I mean, hire a lawyer that can actually
You
do
can buy
something. And most people that don't have that money have to rely on like a public defender.
Yes, that is true.
I mean, I'm not even talking public defender. I am talking, this judge ruled against me. Guess what? I am backing his opponent. They know that. They know it from day one. If Bob, the $800 lawyer walks into that room, that $800 an hour lawyer better win, or that judge will get unseated the next election, if not sooner. Our system is built by the very fact that even these judges on the federal circuit, they're sitting up there, there were mediocre lawyers. I don't understand. I know a lot of people don't know how much lawyers in the private sector makes. But when Ted Cruz is like, I'm going to nominate my friend to the Supreme Court if I get elected, his friend's like, slow your roll. I work for corporate America. I make $450,000 a year.
Yep.
Heidi Cruz said, I'm tired of being the main breadwinner in my family. Ted Cruz makes $175,000. His wife said, that's chump change. Most Americans do not understand the divide between the haves and the have-nots in the United States.
Oh yeah, a partner in big law, you're talking about $500,000 a year and up.
Yeah.
Easy.
And that's the main issue is the haves and the have-nots, the extremely wealthy against the poor. That's the main issue, not race. Race is a distraction from the main issue. And as long as we keep falling for the distraction, we keep getting away from the people that are causing the actual problem, which is the extremely wealthy.
But most of the haves are white. 95% of the haves are white.
And who's falling?
Still,
But who's
still,
falling
that's
for the
not-
distraction, T Black?
The people that are constantly talking about race and looking at things from a victim standpoint.
No, you have.
It's not about what you.
The haves are white,
and you have poor whites who side with them.
Right, but the bottom line is if you still keep playing into the racial thing, then everybody who is not wealthy is still going to fall under the problem. They're still used the same.
Yeah, but how
It's not
many of the
about the
wealthy are
races.
black? How many of the wealthy?
We
are
don't
black?
know.
That's the
We
issue.
don't know.
You wanna
But
go with that
the bottom line is it's still about money. The fact that
it is not, because
how many of them are black?
Do you think if it's just about money, do you think all wealthy blacks are treated the same?
There
as
is no
wealthy whites?
all. There is no all.
Are the
It
majority?
ain't all when it's very little.
Or do you believe a wealthy black person is going to be treated the same as a wealthy white person?
That's another problem. Is we keep thinking in terms of equality. There is no equality in terms of race. They're doing the same thing.
There is equality before there is equality before the law. There is equality before the law.
No, there's not.
Okay,
Women
but there
get
isn't.
way
No,
less
there isn't.
sentences for the same shit. If you go for a
There
custody
isn't
hearing
any
right
equality
now,
in the law.
The law is going to
Well,
side with the woman.
Nichelle, do you think there's equality under the law?
Of course not.
Should there be?
Every day it's proven that there's no equality in the law.
We just accept that there's no equality of the law and just accept that's just society?
But that's the way it is. There is literally
That's the way it is. It's not about. It's not saying that it's okay. We have to accept where we are, and then we have to look for what we can do to fix it. The bottom line is not what the problem is, because we keep talking about what the problem is. The bottom line is what we do to fix it.
Exactly.
We
There's a
have
lot
to
of people
find a
who
way
are
to
going
fix
to
these
college
problems,
and
not
they're
keep
not
talking
getting
about what the
skills that we can
problems are.
I agree with you, T Black.
So T Black, how do we fix
talking
it?
about what we need to do to fix the problem and spend less time on the problem.
So how do we fix
There's
it,
no
T
one.
Black?
There's no one person that has all the answers. So to come to one person who says something like what I just said and say, "Well, what's the solution?" I don't have all the solutions.
Okay,
the
what
bottom line is,
Well, the first step is to admit there's a problem.
What solutions
That's
do
it.
you have?
That's the first thing. The first thing is to admit there's a problem in any situation. To fix any problem, you have to admit and address the fact that there is a problem. And a lot of the problems that we have as Black people in America, and when we start talking about what the problems are, we start making excuses for those problems that we can fix. And if you're not going to see those things as problems that you can fix, if you keep talking about how we got this way, who's the cause of it, then you keep trying to justify things being as they are instead of finding a way to fix it.
Is seeking reparations, is that not seeking a solution?
No, it isn't, because we're not going to get reparations. We keep talking about reparations. It's not happening. It's not going to happen at this point.
To give us a solution.
The solution is as far as for Black people in America, we have to financially get a base, and on top of that, we have to fix the family structure. Those are two of the things that we need to do. Another thing we need to do is value education. We also have to have some self-confidence and self-esteem. As long as we keep running ourselves down, as long as we keep making excuses for calling ourselves the N-word, we continue to run ourselves down. There is no foundation, there is no self-confidence in people who think of themselves in the worst possible way. So we have to take care of all these things first. We have to set the foundation first before we can start moving forward.
So when we've done that historically, what has happened?
We haven't done it historically.
Yes,
what we have done.
Wow, you to do that, and they got burned down.
Okay, so if things get burned down, you rebuild them. You can't sit back and keep saying, but hold on. You asked me a question, is what we do about it once we start doing it. So when we did build up businesses and when we had the Black Wall Street thing, it got burned down. What we do about it is build it again. Don't just sit back and say it got burned down. Do something about it. Rebuild it. The Jews got taken down in World War II. They came back stronger. You keep moving forward. You don't stop. and say, well, they stopped us. If your house gets knocked down by a tornado, you move to another place or you rebuild that house. You don't just sit there in the rubble complaining about the tornado knocking your house down.
What should we do differently? Because what you're arguing would be the definition of insanity if you do the exact same thing again.
Right.
No.
So don't do the exact same thing again.
So what should we do?
Is do something different.
So what should we do differently that we haven't done previously?
We rebuild it. We haven't been rebuilding. We build it. We build things. It gets destroyed, and then we stop. We have to keep going. That's what we do.
No, we have to
stop
we have
funding
to build,
things
we have to build
that you complain are racist.
what you want. What we don't.
Well,
say
stop
is that
buying.
you're
Stop
gonna have to
wasting
learn
money
Yeah,
on
like
things
you
that aren't
complain
building the
about going to
community.
a
not
loan.
what we build.
You
We have
complain
to
about
protect
getting
what we
not
build.
getting a loan from a white-owned bank because it's racist, but then you're not putting your money in black-owned banks. So you can't have that both ways.
But that's just it. You just came up with it. Then you got to build the bank, and then you got to support the bank, and then you got to put the money in the bank. But we aren't doing that.
People don't even know that Bank of America.
Yeah, because look what they did to Black Wall Street.
Bank of
So
America
rebuild
was
it. You can't keep
originally-
bringing up Black Wall Street. You got to do something about it.
but
Once you
that-
got
it
taken
was
down,
more
do
than
something
just
about it.
So T Black, you don't think we should seek to hold anybody accountable for what happened previously?
What good is holding them accountable? They know what they did.
Wow.
They're not going to do anything about it. You can't expect the people who did something to you to do something about it. They're not going to fix it.
Okay, Jews did it. Jews have done it. The Native Americans have done it. The Japanese have done it. Why is it when black people try to do it, it's, oh, y'all just need to rebuild?
We are asking. It's like, think about it like this.
But other groups have done it too and been successful.
We aren't other groups. We're us. We got to do what we have to do for us.
Okay.
We keep trying to say, well, other people did it. It's not about what other people did. What are we doing that we need to do different? Other people are also taking care of their own communities. We aren't.
Okay, everyone who keeps saying we need to do this, we need to do this. Let me ask you a question. How many kids do you have right now? Because we need to build up the black community. And one of the things we need is fathers in the home, men that are committed to doing the best thing for their kids.
Right.
How many
and I mentioned the
kids do you
family
have?
structure. You're right. I did say that.
How many?
Are you talking to
We should
me?
get AD up here for that. AD's a real good father.
What's the point of that? What's your
The
point?
question becomes, instead of saying we and then sit up there, we don't do this. Are you doing it? Are you doing the same things that you say black people, and you made this whole thing that we weren't doing it? So I assume when you said we weren't doing it, that you were included in the we. Or do you see yourself?
I'm a black person. I'm a black American. So yeah, I'm including myself in everything. But whether I am or am not does not negate from the fact that what I said is true.
Yes, it does. Because if I
No,
sit
it
up there and
doesn't. It
say-
doesn't make the fact not true.
No. Excuse me. If I say we need to clean up this house, I'm a leader in my house. When I say we need to clean up, we are going to start cleaning up. When I tell my daughter, you need to clean up your room, I'm a leader in my house. When I go to my city council members and say, you need to fix the wall in the back of our home, we're not going to do it. You are going to do it. We are not going to do it. You're going to do it. And I'm going to come up with a solution. No, I don't like the government. I don't like the government taking government money and saying, I'll give you $400 off of your bill if you fix your wall. I said, if you want the walls fixed, you buy the walls from us. We'll sell the walls to you for $1.
But let me
That
ask
is
you
the
this.
solution. That's
Let me
the way
ask
you
you this,
deal
T.
with solutions. I didn't sit up there and say, we need to fix our walls. I said, I identified what needed to be done and who needed to do it and what role I would play if it was not done.
No,
Well,
but,
Denzel, I
but
agree.
let me ask you this quickly, T Black. Based on your same logic of you were saying we shouldn't ask the people who have messed up essentially our community to fix it. Under that same logic, should we have ever demanded equal rights and agitated for it?
We have demanded equal rights
Because you essentially
we still don't have equal rights. So demanding equal rights is not.
No, what I'm saying is under the law, should we basically with what you're saying is, hey, you shouldn't expect a hostile entity to do right by you. Should we then, was it a mistake to go and demand a Voting Rights Act or a Fair Housing Act or Brown versus the Board of Education?
No.
Then why is it? Then why does that apply to reparations?
Because reparations, it's clear. It has been made clear over the hundreds of years that we've been asking for this, that it's not going to happen. We're not going to get assistance from the people who ruined us and put us in that situation in the first place and continue to do it. They're not going to help us fix ourselves by giving us money, especially if money is what's ruling the country and the world. The last thing that this government wants to do is part with money to the people that they helped to put in a precarious situation in the first place.
But it hasn't been. It hasn't been over that long, because I was going to say earlier in the panel, people were saying they hadn't heard of reparations growing up until recently.
Well, I was just going to say real quick, I still do agree with reparations, but I agree with it more of like land and homes. I don't think that is going to be a way to allocate a substantial amount of money to all these people. It's just not going to happen. Like if you gave 100, there's 45 million of us. If you gave $100, that's like $450 million, and no one's going to say $100. Oh, that's enough reparations.
Well, can
what
you
I'm also
explain
going to
how
say
last week they made a bill,
Also,
17 trillion for reparations.
if they did give reparations and they did give out all this money to Black people, all of the cost of livings would go up, and the things right now would not be the same prices that they would be if they gave us all this money. They would raise the prices of these things. It would still be just as difficult to get access to those things, because the game is played against us. That is the obvious truth. That's what we have to accept.
Kind of like what's going on right now in the Fed.
But hold on.
And what I don't understand is
if we get the money, it's the last card that we have to play. So we get the money. We're not even talking about what we do to fix our situation. Once we get it, we just keep saying we're owed it, so give us the money. Then once we get it, and then the government says, okay, fine, we've given you what you wanted. You think that this is going to help you fix your situation. Here's the money. Now what? So we get it, we spend it, we continue to spend it frivolously.
And then it's
not all of us.
Wait. That's a generalization. That's a generalization.
Of course, it's a generalization. That's how things
but
work. Things are generalizations.
Let me ask you this. What about with reparations? If they were to give reparations, it would come out of tax funds. But you pay taxes. So in essence, indirectly, you're paying for your own reparations. I see something wrong with that.
That's fine. I mean, that wouldn't be an issue.
Why should you pay for your own reparations?
That's fine. I'm not the only one paying. Everybody's paying.
I want to go back though to people bringing up like Jewish people and Japanese people got reparations. They got reparations relative to the time, like the people who were in those encampments during the World War II, when they put the Japanese in the internment camp. Those same people got reparations. People, and then on top of that, we can't even a lot of people can't even determine, are people talking about reparations for slavery, or are they talking about reparations for Jim Crow, for both, for all of it?
I'm talking already.
This was discussed earlier. They already went over this earlier.
That got reparations. It was the same people that experienced it.
No, I was talking about all.
If you're asking for reparations for slavery, people are going to say, "Well, we weren't alive during it."
No, we were talking about. We talked about that earlier. We were talking about all the.
Yeah, they talked about this earlier already.
Other people got. That's my whole thing on it.
I mean, there's a legal argument. I'm sure everyone across the nation heard it. It's called standing. We're not going to be able to sue for reparations. So unless Congress passes a law for reparations. But see, the whole thing about it is businesses go in and say, I want carbon tax credit. I fucked up the environment. But if I promise not to do it anymore, I'll get carbon tax credit because I'm reducing my carbon tax footprint. And so I should save on my tax dollars.
Nichelle, let me quickly ask you this, though. When you said we wouldn't have standing, you said Native Americans just got a part of Oklahoma. What was their standing?
The treaty. They breached a treaty. There was a written treaty that had been breached, and they were the successors under the treaty because the treaty recognized that the governmental body. We don't have leaders in the Black community that have been able to negotiate a successful treaty on our behalf.
I disagree with that.
Michelle, didn't they come up with a law in the 60s that said in order for you to sue, the victim had to be alive still?
Article 3 of the Constitution You don't necessarily have to be alive. You have to trace the injury to an heir.
Well,
You
they've done that
can,
in Wilmington.
yes, you can trace your injury, but that is part of it. I know I get criticized. There are a lot of Black women that don't know who their baby daddy is. So I'm still trying to figure out, you're sitting up there as mama baby, daddy maybe. Slavery was traced through the mother, not the father in the first place. So we really have a hard time. I do oil and gas. We have a hard time tracing lineages. So at the end of the day, you do have, and I tell people like this, in my family, my great grandmother's grandfather was only a slave for a short period of time. He was sold into slavery after his father, who was white, died. He was sold into slavery. He ran away he was at 9 when he was sold into slavery. He ran away at 14. So he suffered five years. His brother, on the other hand, stayed a slave until emancipation. So how do we judge the harm from slavery? Let's think outside the box. Let's think about the fact that I don't know how many of you even know about things like capital gains taxes, that they put a moratorium on capital gains taxes so that people could encourage their kids to go into the family business. There has to be a plan. We're talking about they owe us money. As I said, they will keep us fighting amongst each other. The poor people will be fighting against each other. I don't care if you make $100,000. Relatively speaking, you're really poor because Steve Jobs and them, they got a couple of billion. So
yeah, but if you have property that you can leave to your kids,
That's
like
my
not
initial
everybody's
point.
trying to be rich. And the other thing I was going to say, back to the Japanese, you're talking about like 100,000 people. They literally, and it was like how they got reparations within 5 years of that. So yeah, they can say, yeah, I was just in this camp. You're talking about 45 to 50 million people. And then on top of that, some of them are not even, some of them could be 3 generation from Jamaica. So it's too, like what
You
would
sort it out.
what would the dollar amount even be?
You
45
sort
million,
you sort
45
it out.
million people. That we're talking about like what, trillions?
Yes, Sandy Darity has done the research on it.
Now, listen, y'all.
Yeah, I
Listen.
think it's like almost the equivalent to our GDP would then have to be allocated.
No, it's not. It's
Go
not
ahead,
the
Last
equivalent
week
of
they submitted a
GDP.
bill. It was $17 trillion
What's
for
the dollar amount though?
reparations.
Then what dollar amount would you?
It was
use?
about 15 to 17.
BMT's trying to speak.
Yeah, 17 trillion. They said last week the bill that they submitted for reparations.
Listen, you guys. I only push it for 1 extra hour past the deadline. Literally, the Saturday talks are only 2 hours. I only push it past there because I know y'all want everybody had the angst. I know there's a lot of stuff going on. Y'all got to start coming early. 4 p.m. Eastern. 4 p.m. Eastern. I said that before. Y'all want to go to y'all other YouTube channels? I'm not stopping. But every Friday, Saturday, I come here. I'm gonna do it every Saturday. We talk. Me and Trevor said that. I've even told my gamer buddy Val, a lot of other people. 4 p.m. Eastern Saturday. Now, I'm wrapping this up and I'm shutting down the channel. And like I said, I don't want to go too long. Besides, I know there's other channels, they got to do their shows, and I've already got to pay them because I went past my time. But like I said, next Saturday we will do this to 4 p.m. I'm not doing 3-hour panels. I'm doing 2-hour panels, and that's pushing it. But literally, that's for you to get out all your answers. That's 3 topics we have to cover. You know what I'm saying? I hope y'all guys did enjoy yourselves. Did anybody feel like they felt attacked, destroyed, or somehow their chastisement of the stuff? Also, if you are a paid member of BMT on the Patreon, and I know who's on the Patreon. Patreon users have direct access to the panels as long as they are being respectful. T Black, I believe you are a Patreon holder, correct? So
Yes.
then you have direct access. That is your right and your privilege as a Patreon holder. I can't tell you no. I'm sorry. If somebody else is on the panel and they ain't never been paying, I'm bumping you off for a Patreon holder. That's their direct access. Content creators, that literally, and I'm being honest with y'all, content creators. content creators that are part of the show, like Trailer on Saturdays, he's part of the show. He's not going over. Y'all telling me there's a white man on the train? No shit. I know that. We got past it. He comes up with the content. The show comes up with the content. They write the content for the show. So I know who are content writers that are making the content. I'm just providing the beacon. You know what I'm saying? I think I told Renaissance earlier today, hey, we at 4. That was it. Everything else, this is the dialogue of what y'all should be having on panels. These kind of conversations. Come 2021, they're going to have them, same conversation that we have. I'm willing to bet you're going to have them on CNN, C-SPAN, CBS. But one thing's going to be definitely about that, you won't be sitting there. You won't be having no say-so. Here, the more you talk about it, the more you might have to say so. Better chance somebody who might be sitting in that chair might actually hear this conversation, might hear it. It's always a chance. So I'm going to let my two co-hosts wrap it up. And I'm going to give everybody a minute to say something after that. Nichelle, Lady
Well,
first.
I was gonna say BMT. I'm gonna bounce real quick. Thanks for letting me come up. If I offended anyone on the panel, I'm sorry. Didn't mean get a little passionate at times. But,
Not at all.
I enjoyed talking to everybody.
We love the passion.
Oh, sorry.
No. But Renaissance, I hope I see you back on Saturday. This Saturday, every 4 p.m. This is the only place y'all are definitely going to get this kind of content where 2 different versatile content creators from backgrounds, we're working together and we're making content for y'all. I think next Saturday is going to be on marriage, masculinity, and the treatment of women.
No,
that's going to be
fatherhood.
Okay. See you later, BMT.
Hey, Renaissance man. Before you go, I wanted to thank you for coming on too, man. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, this is brought to you by Trailer and me. We sat down, we agreed on this.
But
So
Miss Nichelle, you have the floor. Say what it is you want to say to get out to people before we get out of here.
Okay, since we're rushing on out of here, as I said, we're not going to be able to move on until both sides are a little bit more empathetic. We are, as Black Americans, we are the wife that got left with the kids. We can't just move on. White people, we understand that the financial obligation, you feel like your needs are not being met. But we got to sit down and talk. Poor whites, poor Blacks. And like I said, even if you're making $100,000, guess what? Heidi Cruz said Ted Cruz's $174,000 was nothing. She was tired of being the primary breadwinner. So understand, this is about classism. Once we can sit down and talk and acknowledge that we not try to play the biggest victim, but sit up there and say, how can we stop being taken advantage of by the powers that be? Agenda 21, whatever you want to call it, they are keeping us divided for their own economic advancement.
Okay, like I said, okay, next we have, we're going to start it off from the top. Actually, we just had Cyberline come through. Cyberline, we can give you your 2 minutes. I know Trailers also hit me on the clock. We have to wind down, so let's go ahead and get it going. Go ahead, Cyber. Oh, you sound low. You sound mad low.
Man.
Sorry. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
I just wanted to say hello, man. Just kind of perusing through. It's been a while. I've been off of the radar, respectfully, working on some projects. But as you know, just looking at a lot of things over the YouTube spectrum. So it was refreshing, as always, to just drop in randomly on the BMT Talk. And as you said, to see this is probably the only place where so far that you can have a diversified body of people having a illuminated discussion where there's a respect to agree, to disagree, and there is also unilateral agreement. So that's a good thing. I just actually stood up a new channel for 2021, the 7th Cyber Court of Fire. And I'm going to be taking some stances on some very uncomfortable opinions, but it is what it is because I feel it's needed. I think overall, I agree with the attorney, but what she said. I think she said some very valid things from not only her experience, but from a realistic standpoint, especially when she kind of mentioned that, when we say we, we have to be including ourselves, excuse me, in those conversations, as opposed to this this collective of the Black community as it has always existed in times past. And I, in closing, I would say, the community does not exist like it used to when grandma and uncle and everybody then was around and we were small kids. Today's Black community is very different. It's very diversified. And there are a couple of people who are not a part of the Black community who actually are trying to help the Black community, but they don't want to stand out in the forefront. And a lot of wealthy Blacks, I can tell you, they don't want a lot of airtime and attention either, but they're working. So.
Okay, thank you, Cyber. Who else want to take it? Like I said, what's going on, man? Tomorrow.
What's going on, man?
You heard everything going on from about the reparational talk. I'm not sure if you heard that. We did the white privilege, the minority racism. I'm sure you caught a big snippet of some of the stuff. Good bringing in the information about Mr. Pride, who just passed 86. I didn't get to do that. And I think, was he one of the oldest people in Mississippi? I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think all these things can be solved with the people on the panel. I think all these things can be solved. I don't think that we have anything in the background that's any different than anyone else. I am not a community-minded, focused person, but within the community that I actually live in Denver, there's a lot of things that they believe in that I actually believe in myself. It's just that even though I know both sides of the divide, like I knew how it was to pick cans and chop wiring from behind of actual appliances and burn it off with actual lighter fluid from barbecue and actually sell it to the actual people in the city who actually needed copper. So it's not like I don't understand these things. I think that no matter where we are, we can actually, as long as we have these conversations that people actually see us saying on the actual panel, we don't have too much indifference at all. And I'm not even bringing up my success from trucking or anything else. I'm just saying that where I came from, it's just that we have the same issues. Because no matter how far you think you are from these issues that is being discussed on this panel, when you move to a different socioeconomic class, you will run right back into the same issues. It doesn't matter whether you're Black, white, Latino, anything else, because other people are trying to shut you out of the higher preferences of the actual things going forward. I've ran into that and I had to look at it through my grandfather's eyes, through my mother's and father's eyes. I thought it was a Mississippi thing. It's not a Mississippi thing. It's not a Mississippi Delta thing. It is a thing that everybody goes through. I talk to people, I own a transportation company and I drive all over the country. And the people in rural Nebraska, Iowa, they run through the same things that people run into in the Mississippi Delta. We cannot find banking to give us loans. We cannot find people, no matter what it is, because a lot of these people like me, I did not know. I was socialized to think that no matter how good my credit was, I could never get a federal loan. And this is me being from Mississippi, not having a credit card, not having anything else, had a low debt to income ratio, even been to the military and been a veteran. no one would even give me a loan because they could not be able to control where the money went after they gave it to me. So the actual problems that I thought was Mississippi Delta related is Arkansas related, Georgia related, rural Florida related, Kansas related, and everywhere else. There's a lot of people out there who has a lot of good ideas, but they cannot get funded. And we have to make that specific system more transparent so that way we can all come up. Because I'm telling you right now, trucking companies, as small as mine, pay a hell of a lot more than the big boys out there. And I have no problem hiring all of their employees onto my company for $1,750 to $2,100 a week. No problem. But if people don't know that that's available out there on a wide whole scale, we're all going to lose as a country.
Like I said, and I want y'all to understand, man. Me and MOT, I respect the man because of his constitution and what of the guidelines he wants. Okay? I understand him very well. I was there when he first started his broadcasting. To this day, I still follow him. And he's a very strong constitution. We stand on two different sides. Never been on the same side, always on politics. But one thing, we were straight down the middle when it came to the Constitution. Me, him, Michelle, banged hard on that. And I guess, I agree. Just saying my piece. There's a lot of stuff. Again, every Saturday at 4 p.m., we'll have these conversations. Like I said, truck trailer, make sure you call me. Go ahead, Val. Say your piece, brother.
Let me get up out of here before I say this. I have met more people in coveralls and overalls who think exactly how I think than people in suits when I wear them. A lot of people need the same type of help that I need when I go out to these farms, especially when the shutdown happened. Those people couldn't get their cows out. They couldn't get their pigs out. They couldn't get their horses out. They had the same problem that I had, which in finding people to deliver from. Because once the government kind of shut down in certain states, the farms are the only people that's working for the state. They don't understand how that whole system works. But at the end of the day, if other people don't understand that you can have the same things when it comes to your actual situation, that you don't even know how these things work. And this is how big corporate America swoop in and do all these other things that small people should be doing for the government.
Got you, fam. Go ahead, Chaos.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah, I definitely agree with that, and I agree with most of what everyone has really been saying. I think the government definitely uses poor, or not necessarily poor, but working class white people against working class Black people. Even though most of us, we all want to, make sure our families is taken care of, and we pretty much want the same things. What I was gonna say too is Killer Mike started a black bank online called Greenwood Bank. It's based off of the Greenwood neighborhood in Tulsa, which is something that everybody can check out, because people do complain about not being able about loan discrimination. So then you got to support black owned banks and things of that nature. That's all I got to say. But thank you for having me on.
Anytime, man. Always come through on every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. We have these discussions. Again, I already know I already got 2 messages already saying you letting white people on the panel. I don't know what to do for y'all Black. I really don't know what to do for y'all Black people. Y'all really pissing me off. Really don't know what to do. Like y'all trying to do this the hell out of me.
Man, but you have to realize, man, that not a lot of people are able to move forward with the actual framework where they are. Like when you go to these city council meetings, when you go to these board of education meetings, you only see the same people there. I could fly into Mississippi tomorrow. I see the same people there who I seen 20 years ago, arguing about the same things that they are now. And you know
If you
where I
don't
get
fix
the
the
most of the
problem,
actual? Go ahead.
if you don't fix the problem, take for example abortion. They're not trying to fix the problem. They're trying to keep the debate going so they can keep funding coming in to support their side of the debate. We have to learn to see through these things. They're not trying to fix racism because it keeps us divided. That white people, and I'm saying it like this, the working class, the middle class, whatever you want to call.
Yeah, we can't hear it, or maybe it's me.
No, I can't hear either.
Yeah, I can't hear
My
you.
cat just knocked me out the show.
Yeah.
My cat just knocked me out the show. But I'm going to get off here. I'm going to summarize it. When we have these panels, we need to sit up here and realize that the United States came together. They were divergent ethnicities. We recognize that there were more Quakers in Pennsylvania, more Baptists in wherever. In order to come together, you have to sit up there and recognize your differences and see what your common goal is. The next discussion should be about what is our common goal for our grandchildren, because I don't care if they give us reparations. Are our grandchildren going to not wince when they see photographs of people that look like them hanging from a tree? Is there any amount of money that you could give to your child that says when your grandchild comes to you and says, look, I just found a picture of a Black woman hanging from a tree. Oh, honey, we didn't forget about that. They gave us some money. So with that note, y'all keep talking about reparations. I'm going to think about my future grandchild coming to me with a picture of a woman being lynched and a baby cut out of her body, and knowing I can't, there's no amount of money you can give me to explain that to her. Love y'all.
Love you.
Okay, well, this is my grandfather thought about reparations.
Joe, I really wanted to say that I appreciated the talk and the dialogue with you today also.
Like I said, and Trailer, you already know, brother. We're gonna keep on writing more content. We're gonna be writing more content like this. Like I said, you already know we gotta get on the phone. Again, you guys, if you would like to help us, again, we need sensible people that can sit and talk through this. blackbrother123@gmail.com. Me and Trailer, we write content. Our content can be shared on different devices from Facebook, Instagram. I'm not going over all our content that we shared on, but we're pretty much busy. We have different people, different classes and genders that literally they're coming and they're hitting us up because they want to talk with me and Trailer about these, and damn it, we're gonna do it. So I want you to understand this is our second episode.
Yes, sir.
Make sure you put it on the channel, Trailer, and so that way we're gonna have more to come. You know what I'm saying, Val, get at it, brother. Go ahead.
Yo, man, just want to say thanks for letting me come on. Definitely hit me up later, bro.
Oh, you already know.
I know me and you talked about it before, doing just a show over some of the stuff me and you went through in the military, just some of the things we're facing right now, both of us. So yeah, man, let's make that happen. It'll be definitely a good talk. Definitely some good stuff going on right now, especially with COVID and everything else in the realm of like VA and stuff like that. So
I am so there, and I'll try to grab some more military people for that combo. About that, I will do everything.
I'll be down for that. I'll be down for talking about veterans issues.
Make sure
Hey, BMT, can I just get my 2 minutes in, and then can I just get my 2 minutes in, and then I'll be out.
Go ahead.
So ultimately, what I came up here to say from the very beginning was, beyond all of this, the tension that we have amongst Americans, we need to get beyond this and look at what's really going on in this world. This is much deeper than us on this personal level, especially with this COVID. COVID should be teaching us that this is about an agenda of the haves against the have-nots. This is all about control, and it's all about divide and conquer. We need to get beyond these other smaller issues and get to the biggest issue, which is us as a people, humans, against these other humans that are wealthier than us, that have power and control to try to control the rest of us. We got to get beyond emotional reactions and get to start thinking and look beyond what's on the surface to see what's really going on. And then we can focus on doing something about it collectively as humans, because this is starting to affect us all as people in this world, not just in this country anymore, in this world. This whole idea, like somebody brought up earlier about COVID, they were talking about all the different things that they keep presenting to us in the media, and they keep moving the goalpost, all basically to try to make up a way to say, at some point, we're trying to make a reason for everybody to be vaccinated. So that we can use whatever we want to use to further our agenda. That's what we need to stop bickering amongst each other and look at what's really going on for the whole of humanity. And we got to come together, see what's going on, and do something about it. Otherwise, we're completely screwed as people on this planet, because it's beyond this bickering back and forth about skin color and about classism and about sexism, and all these other things are symptoms of bigger problems. And I think everybody has come to the same conclusion after every point that they've made, is that this ultimately is about something bigger than all of this stuff. And these things are all about divide and conquer. So I think we need to stay focused and stop bickering and stop reacting emotionally and get to the main issue, which is, what do we do about any problem that is happening? Not talk about who's doing what, who's orchestrating what. The people that are doing these things and are orchestrating it, they're fine, because the rest of us are fighting amongst each other. The rest of us are talking about what they're doing while we're not doing anything about it. That's the bottom line. Not what the problem is, what the solution is. We all have to focus on the solution and what we do about what the people who are in power are doing to us.
That's real truth, T Black.
T Black, let me ask you a question, because I subscribe to what you're saying, but I'm a person that I recognize history. I recognize everything. In my 51 years on this planet, I recognize everything that's happening around me, because I try to think critically. Racial issues, and there's social economic issues in our country. And what I notice is that part of the solution is, I think that people need to break away from this two-party political system. The Democrats and Republicans both have us divided. You saw it in this election. Say what you will about whether you think it was
exactly information,
votes
man,
or what have you were ciphered. But we know that both the Democrats cheat and the Republicans cheat, because the Republicans do a lot of voter suppression as well. These two political parties are, I believe, at the root of what's keeping us divided as a people, because in its very nature, we're divided when we join two different parties, when we should be united as one country. And we should be saying, why can't we take the best of either one of these parties, if there is the best, have to offer into one? Why are we always divided by red states? Why are we calling ourselves red states and blue states? Why are we not one United States, right? I know I sound like a politician right now. I sound like a politician right now. But that's not what the media pushes to us. And you're right. We are divided. We're not focusing on what the true issues are. And COVID has exposed a lot of blemishes in our armor as Americans. It has really exposed our health system for the BS that it is. It has exposed so much. And I am a solution-based brother, T Black. So I agree with what you're saying in its basis. We've got to figure out what it is that we can do in our various communities. Many of us on this panel are living in different states, different cities, communities. So what can we as individuals do in our individual communities? Are you a member of an organization? Have you joined with many other people who have the same mindset as you? Because we know that more is done in numbers than just by yourself, And so I think that's what people have to do.
I think part of if you start from an individual basis, because if individuals take care of the individual, If each individual takes care of themselves and focuses on making themselves a better person, then eventually it becomes a collective, and that collective is the community. So if each individual within the community is focusing on bettering themselves as a human being, the community itself is better. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I totally agree with that.
It all starts with the individual in any situation, no matter whatever you've grown up with, whatever the problems that you've had from your childhood into your adulthood that caused you to react a certain way and be a certain way. If each individual focuses on themselves and trying to fix their own individual problems, the individuals get better, and the individuals that live within the community form a community. The community is better because each individual within that community is better. So one of the problems we have in this country is that there's too much focus on the symptoms rather than the problems. And then we just say, well, just get over everything. And I think when we have issues like our childhood, like we have parents that had issues that didn't deal with their issues, then we're born to those parents, and then we carry those things on, and then we just see them as normal. So as individuals within individual families, within individual family units or fractured family units, there's problems with those individuals. If those individuals don't ever fix those issues or even acknowledge those problems as problems, then there can't be a betterment of the community. You see what I'm saying? Because the individuals are not bettering themselves.
My only pushback to what you're saying is that I grew up in a community. When you hear the term, it takes a village to raise a child, those communities are long gone, but I grew up in that type of community as a Gen Xer.
Same here. I'm 52.
It was a collective of the community that looked out for you. So, for example, if I stole a piece of candy from the corner store, the individual, or as you say, individual that owned the store, he knew who my mother was. He knew who my father was. So he said, "You're gonna get a spanking. You'll see." And I got that spanking. Or the neighbor in the neighborhood took me by my shirt and disciplined me, and then I got another discipline when my parents came home. Or when the lights came on at a certain time, your butt best to be in the house, not out here on the streets. So that to me is a true community in which individuals take responsibility to collectively raise the child and manage and support and secure the community. Unfortunately, we don't live in that kind of America anymore. We live and I hate to say this, we live in America, getting back to your term, where people only think as rugged individual. It's just about me. I got to get the bag, the hell with everybody else. And that type of individualism is what's destroying us, because people are only thinking about themselves and don't realize that if you only think about yourself and you don't concern yourself with the outer community, eventually you're going to become a victim of the destruction of the outer community, because some of us are going to get old, we're going to have a cane, and we're going to get knocked over the head by some of these wild kids out here, man.
Right. And then see the difference in
I gotta stop.
Okay.
I gotta stop, you guys. You're way over the
All right, you're right.
We're way over the I listen. I already know. I got my manager already hit me up, and also Deuce and Triller. I love you guys.
Triller, I'm about to get off anyway. I got a show to do anyway.
I'm coming over there, information, man. I'm gonna watch.
Thanks. When you do this, check this out. When you do this again, I know I got your email, but it was late. I was busy. When you get these individuals, the gentlemen on Trailer Hood and T Black, invite me on, because these type of conversations is what we should really be having.
I agree.
So I do agree. Yeah. Don't get my passion that I had earlier when I came on. Don't get it twisted. I do understand that we can't be on an island by ourselves.
Right.
I do understand that. Thank you for your time.
Like I said, before you go, information man, before you go, I just wanted to say, I know, look, you got to understand from my perspective, I'm doing something that most people ain't going to do. You know what I'm saying? And this is the only thing I know how to do. I'm good at having dialogue with people. I'm good at discussing issues with people, and I'm not afraid. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid to get out there and have talks and have people, push back and say things that most people from my community or my race would be triggered by and shut down. You know what I mean? So this is the only way I know how to reach out and try and help fight against that narrative.
Okay.
You know,
Now,
and the reason why I'm doing this is I'm hoping that, you know, with this, people start sharing this shit and seeing these conversations, you know, and more people will literally watch this happen. And if they watch it happen with us, they'll start doing it in their own communities.
Okay. I got a feeling, did you serve in the military with BMT?
No, actually, I did not. I never served at all, man.
Okay, you got a military aura to yourself. I'm not being funny when I say that.
Right. I've been told that many times. I was in a militia for a lot of years, man. You know, so maybe it's from that, because I did learn a sense of respect and duty to my community and to those that aren't able to protect themselves. You know, I gave the same oath to the Constitution and to the people of my country that he did when I was in that militia. And, you know, I just have a love and a passion for my country and all my countrymen and women. And I'm at a stage right now in my life where it really, really saddens me to see the country in the state that it's in and see where we're leaving our children and our grandchildren. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we as a human race can do a whole lot better if we look past all the smoke and mirrors that's constantly being thrown at us, you know, because obviously you agree with, you know, with T Black, and I agree with a lot of what he said. There's a lot of things going on where we are intentionally being, you know, sidelined, and, you know, we're intentionally being, you know, occupied with shit that, yes, it matters, you know, but it's shit that matters and it touches us at our heart, you know, rather than us thinking about things and using our minds. You know, and they don't, that's the thing, is they don't want us using our minds. They want us all up in our heart. And that's why they're constantly tugging at heartstrings. Because
well, I'm gonna get off because I know BMT has to shut it down, but good talk. Yeah, I mean, I do like conversations like this where you can get to the heart of the matter. I'm gonna say it again. You know, if you look at the word government, what does it mean? It means to control. It's about control.
I agree. And I think we need less
unfortunately,
government.
I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I think that our government has been brought in soul a long time ago.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that.
And they've said to hell with the American. And this is what's scaring me now. And BMT, you'll probably agree with this. Because of COVID causing people to lose their jobs, and you've got places like McDonald's and various jobs that are operating with less staff. If we come out of this somehow, what's the incentive for them to hire back the workforce, full force, the American workforce, meaning people born here? What's the incentive when they're learning that, you know what, we can actually
they're going to go automated.
They're
going to go automated.
Right.
Well,
they're going to go automated.
Information, man. The thing I keep telling people that they need to really pay attention to is right from the beginning, we have been constantly told over and over and over again that this is the new norm. You know, and that's something that really needs to register in people's heads, is that sentiment right there. This is the new norm that's been pushed over and over and over again. You know, and until, look, like I said before, until people stand up, and I'm not saying that we have to forget about everything, but until we can stand up, put our grievances aside just long enough, put our differences aside just long enough, to see who the real enemy is, see who's really holding us down, see who's really pushing the buttons and pulling the strings. If we could just get half of this country, we live in a population of 350 million people. And if we could just get half of the population to all stand up and have their eyes gazed and their fingers pointed at the same person, the same people, the same enemy, imagine the message that would send and how quick these motherfuckers would run.
I agree with you, but
that's why they keep us divided.
Now, let me not say but. Let me just say this. I'm actually concerned about the country overall and people in general, because I keep this is gonna sound crazy. When I look at movies, you know how you look at these apocalyptic movies.
They've been desensitizing us for years.
Where we look at these zombie movies where things go wrong, and they're giving us this fast, and I'm going to be talking about this tonight. They're giving us this vaccine that's just come out.
I've been thinking about the same thing, dude, with the vaccine.
I keep in the back of my mind saying to myself, could this be the end of humanity as we know it, and we just don't know that this might be our last days that we're breathing? Now, I know that sounds crazy, but I just wonder.
But it doesn't. You know, and see, the thing is what people got to realize is we have there's a lot of evil motherfuckers that have been running the show for a long time. I'm a firm believer that all of our award ceremonies, all of our halftime shows, all, you know, for football, for basketball, if you look at how they lay all this shit out, it's done systematically on TV, and it's done within a specific period of time. These are spells that they're literally casting on people that they don't even realize are happening. You know, spells of blindness to where they don't see the lie that's being told right in front of them. I mean, people are literally being told on national TV they're being lied to, and they don't hear it. You know what I'm saying? They don't hear the lies that are being told to them in the music and shit that they're listening to, even though the lies are being told to them, and they refuse to hear it. You know? And these spells, you know what I tell people all the time, regardless of whether or not you believe in this magic that they're using, I want you to understand something. They do, and they believe in it wholeheartedly. That's why they continue to do it, and they want you to not believe in it, because you not believing in it makes it more effective.
Like I said, you guys, I want to thank you guys for coming through.
I know, get the heck out of
right,
here.
I'm sorry, BMT. I just got to actually dialogue with
BMT, I'll be back next week to join the panel with the individuals.
No, listen. Every Saturday at 4 p.m. As long as we can help it, me and Triller, we will keep doing it. Again,
this is something that me and him.
I got to get ready to go. I got to do my show, but take care, brothers.
Yep, I'll come check you out, man. But this is something that me and BMT talked about, 3 weeks ago. First time we talked, me and you talked on the phone for like 2 hours?
Yeah.
You know, we discussed this, and, you know, we realized that we had the same mission in life, that we were trying to push towards the same goal. And we figured, why not two people that have the same mission, the same, that they want to try and see the same things accomplished. Why not work together at it?
I agree. And I would say, honestly, we did good. I would say today, did good.
Yeah, so far I think that we've done a great job, man. I mean, like you said last week, not every dialogue is going to be, you know, upbeat and positive. You know, there's going to be them hardcore, you know, where, you know, there are a little bit of discussion and we have to take a time out and, you know, put everybody back on track. And
the fact that I could see, like I said, we'll keep on doing it. Keep on trying. We figure something out.
I think we're making a difference, BMT. I really do. You know, even if there's those that don't like the fact that I'm on here with you, I still think we're making a difference. And even with them, eventually they're going to come around and they're going to
trust and believe, Trailer. I can't tell. But I will keep on getting up like a juggernaut, and I'll keep on walking.
And dude, I'm a ride this ride with you till the fucking wheels fall off, brother.
We'll keep on doing. And thank you guys. I think we did pretty good. We did 3 hours, 30 minutes. That's you know what I'm saying, that was over the norm.
Yep.
I think we did pretty good. But if y'all want to catch us every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, me and Triller, Voodoo Ninja will be here. And we'll be talking about 3 topics we'll choose. I will send out the emails. He has people that he knows that he want to have a discussion, and I have people I know that want to have a discussion. This is literally what Trailer and I can hope for. Hey, and you're going to see it going to get, but it's okay. The main rule that me and Trailer have is discussion, not fighting, not attacking, discussion. In other words, we're coming here to learn.
Yeah, we sit and listen to each other, you know, take in what another person has to say, and actually have real discourse with one another, you know, because, you know, this is where it all starts, you know, right here. This is where it starts. This is what they don't want, and this is what we're doing. You know, we're fighting back.
You got 3 people of 3 different nationality backgrounds on here. Yeah, I think there's actually 4. And there's 4 to 5 different nationalities. Buddy died. We'll see you guys later. Yep. I'm BMT.
I'm Trailer Hood.
All right, there we go. Don't worry, we're gonna get that. We're gonna get it down where, hey, I'm BMT, Trailer Hood Voodoo. We're gonna get it down, Pat.
Yes, we will.
Other than that, we'll see you guys later. Peace.
Next Saturday,
4 p.m. Eastern.